Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Martini Charles Harrelson III, and I am joined here on this very first special edition live podcast with.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tiger Talks Wrestling. This is your host, Tony. And today we've got a very special guest here on Tiger Talks Wrestling. He is the greatest sports entertainer to ever enter an arena, daddy of BYW, a pro trash talker and that big time moment maker. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you big time, Mike.
Man, thank you so much, guys, for letting me on here. I'm so excited to be on. I've been watching Tiger Talks Wrestling. I didn't even know it was a thing until I saw a few episodes ago, but, man, I'm so excited to be on here. I've been retired for a little bit, but, man, it's so excited to get back in on the scene. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much for being
Brother,
in here.
It is an honor.
It is.
I can say that for myself, man. Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
Now, let's get right into this. I want to go back into your beginnings of backyard wrestling. Tell me a little bit about how you got started in backyard wrestling.
I got started in backyard wrestling like anybody else did. I watched wrestling on TV. I started off watching WWE. I grew up in the 90s, early 2000s, so I never get to catch any WCW when it came out, but I did get to catch it toward its latter half, 2001, 2000-ish. But I grew up watching wrestling like anybody else, and I just started fooling around in the trampoline in my backyard, not on camera, not on YouTube or anything, and I didn't realize anybody else did this. And I did that for a few years till I was about probably 10, 11, 12, 13, and I stopped doing it because I got into football in high school, and that was kind of my life in high school, was playing high school football. And then so happened I moved to a town. I live in Alabama in a town called Daphne, which is about probably 25 miles from Mobile, Alabama, which is a big port city. And I moved from Daphne to Mobile, Alabama, to Central High School, where I met Cage and AK-47 my senior year. And I didn't know that they ran this huge backyard wrestling company known as KBW. And one day they said, "Hey, man, you want to come join us?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." So I went out there. I brought Dominic the Dream Robinson out there, and we had our first match. And it was just there from Jump Street. I was committed. I was all the way fully invested into what KBW was doing because I was done with football. I was trying to find somewhere to go to college, and all that was on my mind was KBW. And little did I know it was going to end shortly after I started. But, man, I just got memories of going to the KBW tapings, getting there at like 7:30 in the morning, waiting on everybody to show up at Bulldozer's house and setting everything up, and then going through the matches and then going through how we're going to work the storylines and everything. So, man, just the early KBW days, it was simple, but it was so much fun, man. It was just a bunch of guys just hanging out, having fun, just doing what we love to do. And surprisingly enough, a lot of those guys, a lot of people don't know this, they got drugged there. They didn't want to be there. They got drugged there because we didn't have the roster size to compete. We didn't have the roster size of a VTW that we didn't know was there at the time, or a UWE that would shortly show up in 2014. We had a roster of about 4 or 5 guys that really wanted to be there, and then about 6 or 7 guys that kind of wanted to be there. So KBW for a lot of people was about a group of 4 or 5 guys that kind of kept that place together, and then a few secondary guys that would just come on and kind of add a little spice to the gumbo, as you would say. But, man, KBW in the early days, it was so simple. It was a lot of fun. And I didn't know there was this big community like we have now. And I'm so excited to see it grow the way it has, man, from the time when I started in the Twitter community to where it's at now. It's just amazing, man. I'm so happy for it, man.
Yeah, and we did see your early beginnings in KBW. You were just a tag team, as you mentioned, with The Dream. And then that lasted, about 1 episode, I think we've seen?
Oh, yeah. It's about an episode.
Yeah. And then you kind of struggled a little bit there on your own for a brief period before we've seen breaks here and there after you had debuted in there. But then we'd eventually see you get a chance at the world title there in KBW. And you had quite the feud with Cage, I would say.
Yeah, man, that feud with Cage, it was something special because when we were before we did that feud is when the first Best in the Yard happened, and it was kind of one of those things where the people wanted to see. I think the people outside of the KBW fan base wanted to see me succeed because I'd gone to Best in the Yard and I did the thing with Drew Hood and we made magic and we did all that we did all the other stuff with VTW with the Halloween Hangover tapings, and we had so much success with it that the people outside of KBW were really pulling for me. When at the same time the people in KBW, the fan base, the hardcore KBW fans, they didn't want to see me succeed. So I think Cage, he made a good, smart decision because there was nobody else to have the title. We had seen AK-47 in Cage 1,000 times. Bulldozer wasn't into it at the time. Paul Wall was gone. Pitbull was gone. Pac-Man, he was nowhere to be found. So the only other option to go with was Big Time Mike, and no one had ever seen me inside KBW do anything of any merit. I mean, like I've said before, I made my name cutting promos. That's how I made my name. I didn't really make my name wrestling. So I think the good thing about myself and Cage is we get to have a story, a long-term story, that really you got to see the dynamic of Cage, the founder of KBW, and Big Time Mike's kind of like the invader. He's kind of like I guess the new school of KBW. He's the guy that broke the mold. He's not like everyone else in KBW because there was no one else like me. No one else moved like me or talked like me. Yes, they were all better wrestlers than me. I'll put that hands down any day of the week. But I think that Big Time Mike was kind of an everyday guy, and he was a loudmouth. He was a character. He was over the top. He was a persona. While Cage, he was kind of an embodiment of just the wrestler. So you got to see the wrestler versus the character versus the gimmick. And I think, man, we clashed so well. Cage, I mean, Cage could work a broom and he can make it a 5-star match, man. Cage made me look so good. He sold for me, man. He really, and he responded to my promos just how someone would need to respond to a Big Time Mike promo. And he's such a great talent, man. He's going to do so well. He's already doing well in the NDC, man. But that feud with Cage, man, it was so much fun, especially when we got to bring in with the Renegades in that first match. We made it a two-parter. And, you know, you said after the first part ends, you see the Renegades storm the ring. And you're like, well, what the hell? Is it over with now? And no, we came back. We fought the Renegades off. And then by the skin of my teeth, I won. I don't know how, but I won. And it was just like there from Jump Street, man. It was so much fun. I was on Cloud 9, man. Cloud 9, it was amazing.
Yeah, it was quite a match that you two put on there. I do have to give you props, though. During the times that we didn't really see KBW, as you mentioned, you did have your own promos on your own page there on YouTube. What exactly brought you to do that and kind of keep the KBW name alive at that point in time?
Well, it kind of stemmed from the fact in 2014, whenever I entered into the Twitter community, the BYW community, that's when Cage had that crossover match with Myron with the KBW BW crossover, and they kind of separated themselves from everybody, and that was kind of it offended me because I was still around here and he didn't ask me to go. And that wasn't. And he wasn't trying to, be rude towards me, but he just didn't think I was ready for that because I'd only had 2 matches in KBW. But I took it offensively. And so that's why I went out and I started making my name. And I was determined to make myself bigger than KBW. But I was also going to try and bring KBW up at the same time because nobody was doing anything. None of the other KBW guys were on Twitter at all, as most of them aren't. Even AK-47, he was trying to get through high school and get into college and do his thing. All I wanted to do was make myself a name. I wanted to build my brand as Big Time Mike and bring KBW with me, because a lot of people will tell you that, before Big Time Mike was just a guy in KBW, but when he got out of KBW, when he was cutting those promos, he made himself a brand. I think when they started coining the phrase the ECT, it was the ECT and Big Time Mike because I didn't have a company. So I was just kind of my own brand. And then I think it kind of stems from the fact that when I watched professional wrestling, when I watched WWE growing up, the guys that really stood out to me were the promo guys, the guys that could talk people into the seats, the Shawn Michaels, even the John Cena at times, who people have given crap after crap after crap about how he's not this or he's not that. But John Cena can talk people into the seats. And you look at the patch, he looked like Dusty Rhodes. Man, that guy, he didn't have the body to be a wrestler back in his day, but he talked people into the seats, man. And that's what I wanted. I wanted people to want to see me wrestle so bad that they tune into these big-time talk shows, however over the top and flamboyant and ridiculous they may be, as me sticking a plunger up. Who was it? It was Pitbull's ass on one of the big time talk shows, or mocking people's entrances, or whatever it was, just trying to get people to understand and care about me. Because if I can get people to care about me and know who and what I'm about and what makes me mad, what makes me sad, what my motivations are, then whenever I do step in the ring, it's already sold. They already want to see me wrestle. It doesn't matter if I sit there in the corner and stomp them for 30 minutes. They want to see me wrestle because they care about Big Time Mike.
Yeah. So who would you say were influences that you had that kind of led you into backyard wrestling? Or
influence professionally?
Yes.
Oh, well, I mean, the first one obviously is The Rock. Rock was larger than life. Even from wearing the fancy dress shirts to wearing sunglasses, walking down the aisle, it made himself seem like he was above everybody. Even when he was a babyface, he's the kind of guy that the women want to be with and the guys don't like, because the guys want to be like him, but the women want to be with him. Ric Flair, obviously, Ric Flair was the original swag man before there was swag. He created swag. Ric Flair was cool. That's who Ric Flair was. And I think Rock and Ric Flair are probably the the two biggest. And obviously you got Stone Cold with, of course, I'm a Southern guy. I'm from Alabama, so Stone Cold obviously sticks out in my mind because I remember watching some old, going on YouTube, man. That was my childhood. Going on YouTube before it was big, watching Stone Cold Steve Austin cut promos and mess with Vince McMahon and his matches, man. It was amazing. But I tell you, one guy that a lot of people kind of blow a pass is Road Dogg Jesse James, man. If there's one guy I can say that has helped me with promos as far as watching and seeing how he does things, is a Road Dogg Jesse James. The way his cadence goes and the way he uses his voice to bring the crowd up and down, up and down. He's one of the best promo guys I've ever seen. He can light a building up like that. I mean, that's the three guys that really stick out with me.
Yeah, I would agree with you on the Road Dogg part. He doesn't get the credit he deserves, in my opinion, when it comes to promo wise, because he can definitely cut a promo. But getting back into your KBW career, the end of KBW pretty much came with what we thought was going to be a triple threat match between you and Cage and AK-47. That turned out to be a fatal four-way match with I just drew a blank on his name. Sorry about that.
Pac-Man.
Pac-Man, yes. Just came to me. What was your thoughts of that match overall?
I was really proud of that match, man, because it was a chapter of my life, of Cage's life, of KBW's life that came to a close. That last match, it took us a while to put it together. It took us a whole day to talk about it and think about it and see what can go where. And we didn't want it to be just a normal KBW title match. We wanted it to really tell a story. We wanted it to be, at first it was supposed to be 3 people, and then Pac-Man decided he could come. And we said, why don't we throw Pac-Man in there? He's had the briefcase. It'll throw people way for a loop, because if it's just AK, Cage, and Big Time, they're going to think, well, AK and Cage are going to team up on Big Time because nobody liked the Big Time. But throwing Pac-Man in there, he was a wild card, man. And for a minute there, I think a lot of people thought he was really going to win. And that's what we wanted. We wanted Pac-Man to be that wild card that's like, well, Big Time's had matches with AK. He's had matches with Cage, but he's never faced off against Pac-Man. And, man, it was so much fun. It was a whole lot of fun, man. I really enjoyed it. I thought that it was the best way to put KBW to a close was with that match.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I know watching it, it was quite a roller coaster, so as to speak, during pretty much the whole match, and a very good outcome to it. But yeah, so that's pretty much how KBW went for you. Let's move into Best in the Yard, the original one. You and Drew Hood. The build-up towards that match was quite impressive.
Yeah, man. The thing about that is that I met Drew on a hangout one night. Cameron Jackson. He's probably how everybody meets everybody. Cam knows everybody. And one night I was just sitting in the house, and Cameron Jackson messaged me and said, "Hey man, we're doing this thing called Best in the Yard, and we don't want to do it without you being a part of it." So I said, "Okay, yeah." I said, "Who am I working with?" He said, "Well, you'll be working with Drew Hood." And immediately I was like, ideas everywhere, because man, Drew Hood, even back then, he was so talented and so underrated, man. He's such a good worker, man. I think that was really the start of Big Time Life, because a lot of people didn't give me any chance in that match. Didn't think, well, he hasn't wrestled in a year. Mm-hmm. But I think working with Drew, I really got to be creative, and I really got to bring Drew out of his element, and I really got to come into my element as a promo guy. I really got to build that match just by talking. We didn't see each other until that day, the day we did the match. And man, it was just the way I would do something, and I would say, all right, well, let's see what you got. And he would throw something back at me. Then I would say, wow, that's good. And I would throw something at him, and then he would throw something back at me. Just crazy stuff, man. The promos, Drew Hood is an underrated promo guy. He's good at promos, and people give him credit, but man, he is the best at probably building a story with promos as far as logic goes, and just being creative. He is one of the most creative individuals I've ever seen in my life. He is it's never a dull moment for a Drew Hood promo or a Drew Hood storyline.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, all you got to do is look at this previous year's Best in the Yard 3, the promos that he had leading up to this match against Nova.
Oh yeah, man!
Amazing promos on both ends for that one. Then we had the match between you and Drew that a lot of people, I think, were very surprised by how it went down. But still, it was a great match that you two put on. It kicked off the show on the air. I've heard that it wasn't actually the first match that happened when you guys were there, but
No, it wasn't. It was we actually split that Best in the Yard into 2 filming days. We did the first match that was filmed was Kevin Shaw versus Aaron Jones in the ladder match. And then the second day is when we did everybody else's match. So we did of course that same weekend we did Best in the Yard, and then we did the FBW because FBW had just started. Drew started the FBW thing. And so we really kicked off FBW there, which he had like a couple FBW episodes before, but we got to do that big 6-man tag with Face Island versus I think it was heel something. But yeah, man, it was a lot of fun. And for the second day of Best in the Yard, when that was the first match we filmed as far as the second day of actual Best in the Yard filmings, and it was just like I think out of all the crossovers I've ever been to, that one ran the smoothest, just because I think everyone was there just to prove a point. And to just have fun, man. We got all these people that we don't really know each other. We've been on Hangouts. We're on Facebook Messenger, and we all get to come together and we all get to show why we think we're good or why we think we're the best. And we debated for months on what to call the show. I mean, I think at one point we were going to call it BYW Extravaganza. At one point we were going to call it King of the Yard before King of the Yard was a thing. And then we decided on Best in the Yard. We were like, well, that's pretty catchy, and it's not too over the top. Best in the Yard, that was it. And man, Best in the Yard, I think it was a launching point for a lot of people's careers. I mean, you see Best in the Yard 1, it probably launched everyone on that show's career. Then you got Best in the Yard 2, Chase Bridges and D-Lock, and you got TOP that also, I think Best in the Yard is kind of like a start, and it can also be a reboot for some people. So, I mean, Best in the Yard 1, man, if you haven't watched it before, which most people watching the show have probably seen it before, but if you want to, I just go back and watch it sometime just to see how much fun we're having. Because, some crossovers you can tell people are having fun and maybe they're not, but that, man, we were all having fun that day. It was a great weekend.
Yeah, definitely. To me, I would agree. You can see the fun that was taken by everybody during that show. And it was just well put together, in my opinion. So, you have any stories from the original Best in the Yard?
Oh, man. Oh, man, the original Best in the Yard. I mean, I'll tell you probably one of the funniest stories, and this was a lot of people will find this ironic because there is a tradition at Best in the Yard that the night before Best in the Yard or the night after, you don't sleep, because at the first Best in the Yard, myself and Cameron Jackson, we kept everyone up. Mm-hmm. And our victim at Best in the Yard 1 was Drew Hood. So Drew, Cam, and I, we were friends, but we weren't as close as we are now.
Right.
And so me and Cam are going back and forth. We're all hurting from wrestling that day. So, he says a comment, so I go over and drop an elbow on him. I come back, and of course Zach Daniels is right there just laughing his head off the whole entire time. So this carries on for about 30 minutes or so. And Drew Hood is laying down in the bed. He's trying to sleep because he's tired. And me and Cam just get louder and louder and louder and louder. And so next thing I know, I'm over here in this rolly chair, rolling around, messing with Cam. And next thing I know, all I hear is, if you guys don't shut the fuck up and go outside, I swear to God. I was like, who is this? And I look around, and this Drew Hood, the guy I've never seen say a mean bone. I didn't think he had a mean bone in his body, up ready to beat us to death.
Right.
And it was just, man. And then we finally stopped that because I think Dirty DeChico, he doesn't get enough credit for how good of a performer he is behind the scenes and in front of the camera. He was kind of I guess the moral compass. He just said he was kind of like Daddy. He told us to quiet down, and we quieted down. But man, it was a lot of fun, man. And seeing and that just kicked off because the next Best in the Yard 2, me, Cam, and Drew kept everybody up, and they all hated us the next morning because they were all tired, but we were ready to go.
All right. And we'll get into the Best in the Yard 2 here in just a moment. Nice to see Cam Jackson mentioned there. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I gotta cut you off here, Tony. This question here just shot my mind, and with you talking about Cameron and Drew, the FTC. There's also, you guys aren't the only big faction in the BYW scene. There's another big faction, and that is the Murder Club. Mike, I want to know what you think of it and what your opinions are on this group.
I think the Murder Club is a lot of people see it as like a Bullet Club ripoff. I don't see it like that. I see the Murder Club as like a group of guys that all want the same thing. They all want to assert their dominance in BYW, and they got Yankee, and Yankee's a great competitor. He's a great leader. But the Murder Club is just straight up scary, man. I mean, you got Dirty DeChico, you got D-Lock, you got Rick Rios, you got TJ Sakara, you got Yankee, and there's so many more people that are in the Murder Club that we don't even know about. I mean, hell, I don't know how many other people are in the Murder Club, but I think from a professional standpoint, I think the Murder Club is a force to be reckoned with, and I think what the Murder Club wants, the Murder Club gets. Me personally, I don't want to tango with the Murder Club just because I know how a gang beat down, how a big group on one person beat down goes. I think the Murder Club morally, they're a bunch of snakes. I mean, they're dirty guys. They'll do whatever it takes to win. I mean, you saw it Best in the Yard 3. I mean, what they did to Kirsten, and I know me of all people, I have no room to talk about doing anything dastardly to Zach Daniels' girlfriend, but just from a human standpoint of morality, I mean, those guys, they're eventually going to get what's coming to them, but I don't know who or what can do it. I know I'm not going to do it because I don't want to die. I've hung up my vest, I hung up my boots at Best in the Yard 3, so I don't want anything. I mean, I tried to beat Rick Rios. I couldn't beat him, and he's a big part of that Murder Club scene. Rick Rios and that Murder Club, I don't want to mess with them. Those guys are dastardly. They're dirty.
Now, if you were to come back into wrestling, and if you were to team up with the FTC and you were forced to face the Murder Club, but you guys were allowed to pick which 3 members of the Murder Club you guys wanted to wrestle, who would they be?
First and foremost, it would obviously be Rick Rios because a part of me still wants to try again because he took something from me that I'll never be able to get back. He took a part of my life that I'll never be able to go back to, a part of my life that brought me a lot of joy and a lot of sadness, just a big part of my life, and I would really want to take that back. Secondly, it would be Dirty DeChico, just because me and Dirty have a past, and even though Dirty, he is the UWE World Heavyweight Champion, Dirty has really become a hypocrite as to what he used to stab me with, me and Cam and Drew with. He used to stab us with how dastardly we were and how shysty we were and just how underhanded we were, and yet we see a guy, supposedly the White Knight of BYW, I used to call him, kind of like the morality of BYW. He's kind of turned his back on what he believes in. And then the third guy would have to be Yankee, because I think Yankee is one of those guys that walks around and thinks he can get whatever he wants because he's a badass and he's good at what he does. He is damn good at what he does. But I think Yankee really needs to get his ass whooped one good time, because a guy like Yankee is a bully. He's kind of like a guy like Jamal Payne. They're full of excuses. When they lose, they're full of excuses. When they win, they're the best thing since sliced bread. But you get hit in the mouth one good time, that's all it takes. One good ankle lock, that's all it takes. One good senton, that's all it takes. One good black toe splash, that's all it takes. And I guarantee they won't be acting the way they do.
Very nice. We'll segue a little bit from that into the first time that we've seen you and Rick Rios at WrestleCon. What was your opinions of the lead up to that match and then of the match itself?
I really enjoyed that, Bill, because it was something different. It was especially for me because you'd always see me in hardcore matches, and yeah, it was a no disqualifications, falls count anywhere. But I really thought that we did a good job with we had to rule out a finisher, had to take a finisher out, and we had never seen. The BTA is the biggest part of me as anything else is. That's probably that is my go-to. I've won a lot with that. I've had a lot of success with that move, and he took it away from me, and I couldn't use it, and that really handicapped me. And I had to figure out a way mentally to get into his head to try and throw him off his game. Yeah. And then physically, I mean, Rick Rios is, man, he's a dog, man. He's got dog in him, man. He's a fighter. They say he's a hybrid. That man is a fighter. That man, I can say that I have hit. There are 2 people in this BYW I have hit as hard as I can and tried to literally hurt them in reality. One is Kevin Shaw. The other is Rick Rios. I tried my best to legitimately injure Rick Rios at WrestleCon, and that man still had the fight and had the gumption and had the literal, I guess a better word for it would be the balls to stand up to me and punch me in the mouth and show me, no, you are big time Mike, but I'm Rick Rios. And I couldn't get in his head. I think the best thing I did for that match was really taking TJ Sakara and putting him in the ankle lock while Rick Rios had to watch. But of course I had to pay for that afterwards. But the build, man, a lot of people don't see Rick Rios as a promo guy. And I really, really hope after the match at WrestleCon and Best in the R3 that people can see just how versatile Rick Rios is. Rick Rios, they say he's the hybrid machine. Well, a big part of what we do is talking, is trying to get yourself out there as a character, as promos. And man, Rick Rios, I think I pushed Rick more. He pushed me a lot, but I think Rick Rios benefited more from the WrestleCon match than I did, because Rick Rios had never really been pushed to that level as far as the promo goes, especially when we had done the Creedcast with Everett. Him and I were on the Creedcast, and man, that really – it got under my skin, because I didn't think he was going to be able to get to that level and get under my skin, because it takes a lot to get under my skin. He got under my skin. He had me doubting myself before I walked out, and it takes a lot to do that. That build really helped him come into Rick Rios, the hybrid machine.
And I mentioned it before, I'll mention it again, that WrestleCon match between you two is what really got me more so involved in backyard wrestling, because it was around that time that I started watching backyard wrestling myself, and just happened to see Cage and AK pop up on KBW and mention that they were going to be at WrestleCon. I was like, well, I'm going to watch this and see what's what. And that caught me. You guys got me on that.
Yeah.
Hook, line, and sinker. That match alone, and then the rest of the show too, got me in wanting to go and find UWE, VTW, and a little bit of APW as well.
That's awesome, man. That's the whole point of these, man. Is crossovers is to get everyone out there so we can bring more people in. That's the whole point of these, man. It's awesome.
Yeah. Very good match, I'll give you that much. I was very, very happy I watched it, that's for sure, the show and the match between you and Rick. I was very surprised by the outcome of that match, and was very happy to see that you guys had the rematch at Best in the Yard this year as well. As for anybody who hasn't seen WrestleCon, which they'd be crazy if they haven't seen it yet, that match ended in a no contest pretty much. So,
oh yeah, I remember it every morning when I get up. I feel it. Trust me.
I believe it.
He got me good on that one.
Yeah, he did. All right, so let's move on. Anything else you want to say about WrestleCon before I do move on to the next part?
I think WrestleCon as a whole, as a show, it really kicked this community, or at least the East Coast Alliance, this side of the map, the East Coast of the BYW. I think it really kicked us into a whole new gear, because we had, of course, we had WrestleCon, and then we went straight into Best in the Yard 2, and I think everyone stepped their game up. They saw WrestleCon, and the guys that weren't there were like, man, we really got to step our game up, because me personally, I thought WrestleCon was a better show than the first Best in the Yard. And it's one good thing about what we've been able to do as far as crossovers is we've been able to top our last performance every time. Even though it may be by just a little, it's still topping it and giving us something else to work for to try and top for next time. And WrestleCon was a huge marker in everyone's career. WrestleCon was actually the birth of the FTC as far as behind the scenes go. That's where we decided, well, before we get out of this, me, Cam, Drew, and I, before we get out of this, we're going to be a trio, and we're going to do this, and we're going to show people that there is a way to run backyard wrestling by getting behind this camera and being a character, not just being a good wrestler. There is a way to be over the top and be extravagant and be flamboyant and be a bad guy and go over the top. There is a way to break the mold and run the place. We wanted to assert our dominance, and WrestleCon was really the birth of the FTC, and it was the birth for a lot of people's career. I think it really stepped our game up as far as content goes. Even when they did the home content, when they did BTW was doing Vindication, and when they were doing other pay-per-views, and when UWE was doing not Vindications, Lockdowns, and other pay-per-views, they really stepped their game up after WrestleCon.
And I know for WrestleCon, on the Lips podcast I did recently, he brought up the fact that you were involved in the opening segment of WrestleCon.
Yeah.
Lips down the aisle. What was that experience like for you?
Oh man, so they say they're gonna. So we're getting ready for WrestleCon, and they say, oh, we're gonna do this wedding between Selena and Joe. So I was just like, okay, this is gonna be funny as always. Everything with Joe is always funny, and everything with Lips is always entertaining. So, you know, I'm over there, and this is the day after we did the first set of filming. So Zach Daniels had hurt his ankle against TJ Sakara. So I was designated as the Zach Daniels holder. So I had to carry Zach everywhere, carry him to the bathroom and stuff, because Zach's my friend. So I'm standing there with Zach, and then Everett comes up to me in a woman's dress that looks like he bought it like a pawn shop. And he says, Mike, you want to walk me down the aisle? And I said, sure, why not? So we get back there, and of course Buford. I didn't know that Cam was going to be he was going to officiate the wedding as Buford, which made it even worse. It's harder for me to hold a straight face, and so I'm sitting back there, and the music gets to playing. We walk up the stairs, walk down the aisle, and just for some reason I said, why don't I just strut like Ric Flair down the aisle? And to this day, this is one of the highlights of my career. In the words of Cameron Jackson, we killed the holy sanctity of marriage that day. That day is when we killed the holy sanctity of marriage. And oh man, it was just. And then after that, man, I watched the wedding, and I couldn't help but laugh. And I was just, man, it was a lot of fun. It was a whole lot of fun. It was very interesting. It was probably one of the most entertaining segments I've ever done, as far as it's ever been done in the community. Just as far as just getting a laugh out of somebody, man. So. Stuff like that. I always love doing stuff like that.
Well, say it was the most entertaining and different way to start a show as we've seen any other crossover event, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So then when we move from there, as you mentioned, you had Best in the Yard 2. We've seen the build-up between you and Dirty DeChico leading into the I Quit match. You got kind of dark in some parts of that build-up leading into it.
Yeah, Best in the Yard 2. I was going through a kind of a rough spot in my life with I've been in college still, with college and school and work, and so I turned heel after WrestleCon.
Yep.
And I did not want to be the cool bad guy. That was the one thing I didn't want to do. I did not want to be the bad guy that everybody liked. I wanted people to literally despise me. So Cam and I did the half and half thing, and so I didn't want anybody to like. I didn't want any cheers. Then I wanted to lose followers on Twitter. I wanted to lose subscribers on my YouTube channel. I did not want people to like me at all. And I thought the Dirty DeChico, he's the perfect opponent. He's a bruiser. He's a fighter, and he's a man's man. I guess you say he's a people's champ. You know, Dirty DeChico is what you want to be. I mean, if anybody at home, if I was not a wrestler and I watched BYW, Dirty DeChico is a guy, at least from my background, who I'd want to look up to, because he's a roughneck, he's a working man, and the working man is a perfect for just any fan to watch, to look up to. And the only way I knew that we were going to get any traction, because I knew Cam and Drew were going to main event, the only way we were going to get any traction and any kind of success on that show was for this to be the most storytelling and the most dark, and probably the most dark story on the show, and the most dark story I've ever been a part of. I'm not going to lie to you. I can't probably say that I might have been depressed during that time, and maybe not. I don't know. I just know that cutting those promos, a lot of what I said, there was no make-believe. I truly believe that I was Big Time Mike, and that I was a salvation in the promised land. And I got my friend Dominic the Dream. He came and we did the whole torture scene, and I wanted it to be something that made people's stomach turn. I didn't want people to like this match. I wanted people to hate me, and I wanted people to want Dirty just to beat me to death. And I think we accomplished that. And after that match, I couldn't look myself in the mirror for a good week and a half, 2 weeks, because I was so ashamed of just the violence that I came to. And this, I don't know, man. It's hard for me to talk about it sometimes, because it really kind of put distance between me and my family, because they saw that and they were like, who are you? What have you done with Mike? We need to get away from you for a little bit. And it's one of the prices you pay when you get so far entranced into a character like Big Time Mike. When he's a good guy, he can be your white knight, he can be your champion. But when he's a bad guy, he still has those same qualities, and he's still a bad guy. He's really an evil person. And I really felt like I got into a really dark place with some of those promos. But I feel like we accomplished what we were going to accomplish. I think Dirty really got some following. He came into his own with the whole Templar thing, and it all worked out in the end. But it's hard for me to watch that match sometimes. It's hard for me to talk about it sometimes. But I've gotten to the point now where I can kind of watch it and say, well, that's what I did. We can move on from that. And I never wanted to get anywhere like that again. Now, I got a little bit dark at Best in the Yard 3, and it got really emotional, but I think I kind of lost who I was as a person with that. I kind of got too far. That's when I had to take a step back and say, okay, we got to stop for a minute because I've gotten way too far into this. I've become someone that I'm not. People see me and they're like, you're not you, you're somebody else. And it woke me up because it's one of those things when you want to be so good at this. And I can't tell you how many times I've been on podcasts and I've done big time talk shows, and I've said, you got to put 100% in this. You got to want to do this. And I've just tried to not really bury, but I've tried to just light a fire under these young guys' ass, just to give some extra push. But then, you see the negative side of it where you get so far into it that you don't know who you are. And you lose, you pretty much, you go to school, but you don't go to school. You're Mike, but you're not really Mike. You're just playing. Michael Miles became a character I was playing, and Big Time Mike became me, and that's not what I wanted. I wanted those two to be separate. And Best in the Yard 2, I completely lost myself as a person, but I managed to get out of that, and I managed to not do that anymore.
Okay. Then we would see you, besides that match, we would see you in the main event as the referee, as you mentioned, Cameron Jackson and Drew Hood face each other in the main event. Very good storytelling they had in that match. And then obviously we saw the surprise at the end of the match after Drew Hood picked up the win of the formation of the FTC on camera.
Yeah, man, that was something that I think we had talked about it for a while. Like I said, Russell Conway started talking about it, and every night after we got back from Pennsylvania, we got on a hangout for like hours and talked about how we were going to do this FTC thing, when we were going to do it. And Drew was kind of getting burnt out, and he was like, man, at Best in the Yard 2, I think I'm going to call it quits. And we were like, no, man, you don't need to do that. And we were trying to talk him off from the ledge. And he said, well, how about we do it like this? How about we do the main event? We still keep the same finish, and then we form as a group, and we leave. We just leave. And our whole point of that was we wanted to keep it set. We wanted to keep, I guess you say, kayfabe alive. We didn't want anybody to know but us three that this was going down. And I think it upset a lot of people because they thought we were going to really just crap on everything that everybody did. And to a degree, I think at first we did, just because we were trying to make a statement and prove a point as a unit. But I think what we did at Best in the Yard 3 was really important to this community because it really, I keep saying this show makes everybody step up and this show makes everybody step up. I think Best in the Yard 2 was for people that did not do the best they could do or did not have the kind of passion that they should have. I think it really woke up a lot of people up, and it pissed a lot of people off. And when people were pissed off, they usually work a lot better and work a lot harder. And people got mad. A lot of people in the crowd got mad, and behind the scenes they got upset. But that's what happens in the wrestling business. Even in the backyard, people get mad about stuff. And I think that it really allowed everybody to step up and kind of get a little bit of edge about them and not be so soft. I get on to a lot of people, not really a lot of people, but I used to get on to a lot of people about being so soft in the ring, man, and just being so soft for their promos and not really getting into what they're doing and not really believing what they're doing. I think a lot of people woke up and they believed every word they said after that, and they really stepped up. And that's a highlight of my career because those are my two best friends. Those are two of they're my brothers, and just being able to share that stage with them and do what we did and really kind of, I guess I don't think anybody ever saw it coming, which is a crazy thing. And that was really important to me, was that nobody really spoiled it. Nobody saw it coming. And that's when you know you got something good. When you surprise everybody, it's like, I didn't want that. I didn't see that coming. And everybody's just, man, they're upset or they're happy, they're mad. They got some kind of emotion. They're emotionally invested in the match and in what we're doing. And that's what I love so much about that match at Best in the Yard 3.
Yeah, I would say that's something that you don't get in wrestling, whether it be backyard or in pro wrestling very often, is the surprise of something happening that you just don't see coming. But you guys definitely pulled that off. I couldn't tell one person that knew it was coming.
Yeah.
From anything that you've seen. So any stories from Best in the Yard 2 trip that you want to share with us?
Oh man, Best in the Yard 2. That was I think Best in the Yard 2 was Cam, Drew, and myself. We really got to get the I guess we got the reputation of backstage of just messing with people, man, because this is the night when Zach Daniels became our victim at Best in the Yard 2. So we're cutting up, obviously. We're laying there, we're just cutting up, singing songs, just goofing off. And of course, Navon McDonald was there. And that was his debut into, I guess, this crossover universe. And we go over there, we're cutting up, talking, laughing. Everybody's trying to go to sleep. We're messing with folks. And so Zach Daniels gets up and said, "Where are you going, Zach?" He said, "Not fucking here." And he goes out and sleeps in his car. And then about 4 or 5 hours later, he comes waltzing back in. We go back cutting up again. "Zach, where are you going?" Gets up, leaves again. Comes back. Zach Daniels. He's a trooper, man. It took everyone a while to get used to us cutting up so late because we were just so full of energy trying to do and say everything and trying to just I guess be be a shining star in what we did, trying to just stand out even if we're not on camera. We got bit with the bug, man. We were just trying to be goofballs. And that was also the night when the famous Navon McDonald story about his fear of seagulls came out, and he kept us all rolling, laughing all night, man. Something else. And his famous, infamous hatred for the dark side. He let us know that trilogy. We got to hear that for a good 6 or 7 hours. It's a lot of fun, man. A lot of good memories there.
Yeah, I've heard quite a bit, I should say, about him and the dark sides.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, that story's not for me to tell. That's for him to tell. He tells it so much better and can remember all the little details.
Right. What is this whole seagull story, though? I haven't heard that one yet.
I don't know. I don't know the exact story word for word. I just know that it's a Navon McDonald story when it starts off, "It was 5 years ago." That's how you know it's a Navon McDonald story. And apparently Navon McDonald gets chased by these seagulls. I think he had some ice cream or something, but he gets chased by these seagulls. And I guess from that day forward, he hates seagulls. They scare him. They make him uncomfortable. If you're in a public place with him, he'll freak out and he'll walk away. He's a trip, man. I don't know it word for word, but if he can tell it to you better than I can, he can damn sure be more entertaining about it.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry, but I believe I know. I'm not sure if I'm correct, but I believe I know the story. You see, his brother Arnold and I, we're actually pretty close, so he told me. So this is gonna be my source. But what had happened was, he was recording a video or something, and a seagull ended up hitting an 11-year-old boy who had ice cream, and I believe the kid dropped the ice cream or something, and Navon just flipped out. He was like, "Oh my God, what the hell? The seagull just attacked that little boy. Someone needs to call the police." And he just started freaking out about everything. And Arnold was cracking up. I was cracking up. It was a fun time.
Like I said, I can't remember all the details, but that sounds about right. That sounds like Navon right there. He declares war on the entire race of seagulls just because they attacked one little boy. That sounds about right for Navon McDonald.
Fair enough. So let's go into Best in the Yard 2 a little bit. What would you say was a highlight from Best in the Yard 2? Like a match let's go with a match that you think might be underrated that people...
I think there's a couple on there. Everyone on that show did a great job. I think one match that really goes underrated, probably one of the first ones I would say. A lot of people say the Zach Daniels and Chase Bridges match, but a lot of people talk about that match, and a lot of people put that as like a postmark for Best in the Yard 2. I don't think that match is underrated. I think it's a great match. I think it did a great job telling the story, and it really introduced us to Chase Bridges, but I think it gets a lot of credit, and it deserves a lot more. But I think probably one of the most underrated was the Kevin Shaw and the man we're talking about now, Navon McDonald. Kevin Shaw gets a lot of flack from a lot of people, just a lot of bystanders in the community about how he's this or he's that or he's not good or he is good or whatever. Kevin Shaw is a superstar. Kevin Shaw has really come into his own. He has really become something more than just – he's not America's boy anymore. He is more than that. That man is – if we were selling tickets, that man would be on the marquee for me. That's a guy I'm going to hold. If I was taking a company, that would be my first pick. He's my number one draft pick is Kevin Shaw, because Kevin Shaw is probably one of the only white meat baby faces, pure baby faces we have left in BYW. And him and Navon, I mean, they were just they just meshed so well together. And Navon's a great wrestler, and Kevin's a great storyteller. And, man, they didn't do really any hardcore stuff, which was a lot on that show. It was a lot of hardcore stuff. And, man, they really stood out because they got back to the basics, man. They wrestled, and Kevin beat him with a roll-up. Can you believe someone actually beat someone with a roll-up? It's crazy.
I know, that's something you see.
Yeah. So he beats him with a roll-up, and then, like typical heel fashion, Devon freaks out and bashes him with the guitar twice. And Kevin took it like a champ, man. And I think that really, one, it helped introduce us really to Novin, the Novin side, I think, to that crossover community to Novin. And it showed that Navon was so versatile and that Kevin could take an ass whooping and he could sell, and that he could really just be a true babyface, come from behind, come from underneath babyface. Get that roll up 1, 2, 3. I think it was great, man. And I also think that TOP versus D-Lock, talk about a match that a lot of people should be talking about more. TOP versus D-Lock. Dustin, it's no secret. He no-showed. He had his reasons. It is what it is. But D-Lock was kind of left in the dark, and it was like there was just kind of a throwaway match. It was going to be a 2-on-1 handicap match. But D-Lock, he showed out. That man's a superstar. He's a player, man. He is next level talent. He's a great athlete, great storyteller. And obviously Rick Rios, I'll sing his praises all day long. And TJ Sakara, a lot of people don't give TJ a lot of credit. TJ is an old school. He's old school, man. He doesn't do a lot of bumping around, but he's a good storyteller. He's a good big man. And they did a great job. Him and Rick are just like, man, they're like fire and ice, man. They work so well together. They do a good job. And D-Lock did a great job of selling, trying to come from underneath. And it made you think for a minute that he was going to win the match. And even though the TOP did win, I think that a lot of people should be talking more about that match because, like, again, a lot of that show was hardcore. A lot of that show was bash people over the head with stuff. A lot of that show was bloody. A lot of that show was over the top. That was back to the basics. That was like step one storytelling right there. You got two heels versus a babyface. How are we going to tell the story? The two heels are going to beat him down. Babyface is going to come from underneath. Even though he doesn't win, the fans respected him. The people respected the fight, and they hated TOP because it's just a dastardly way they did it. They won, and that's how a heel should win. A heel should not win clean. A heel should win with some sort of help because the babyface is supposed to be the better worker. The babyface is supposed to be like the A-plus guy. He's supposed to be the guy who follows the golden rule. And I think those two matches, they stand out. Great job, Wade. Good job for all of them to stand out. But, man, just bringing it back to basics, just wrestling, what this is. He brought it back to wrestling and storytelling, and I loved it.
Yeah, I got to give props to not only D-Lock, because he did amazing with having to face two guys in that match, but to all three of them. Like you said, they're all really underrated if you ask me in the community. Ricky's starting to get a little bit more recognition, I would say. Still not enough. But TJ and D-Lock are definitely way underrated. I've had D-Lock on as a guest recently, and that's actually one of the lowest viewed shows I've got on here. So I've talked to the guy. D-Lock is a very awesome guy. Good to get to know. And more people need to see that interview that I did with him because he told some good stories on there. You'd get to know him a little bit better if you watch that one.
Yeah, he's a good dude, man. I mean, on screen lately, he's been dastardly on screen. He's been underhanded. He's kind of been going away from really what brought him as far as being that guy that everybody can look up to, that underdog guy. But I think as a person, man, D-Lock, very underrated. He's got a lot more gas in the tank. He can do so much more, man. I think you've only seen the beginning of D-Lock, what he can do.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But yeah, I would agree with you on those two matches, especially underrated from Best in the Yard too. For the most part, you hear a lot of the other matches talked about besides those matches, but there's one I just want to get your opinion on here real quick from that show. Ecstatic and Jordan Oliver's match that they had, the 2 out of 3 falls match.
Man, that match was crazy. I thought they were going to bust my damn truck window. They got on my truck, and I thought they were going to bust my damn windshield. I was going to have to ride back to Bama with no windshield. But no, I mean, Jordan Oliver, obviously, we know he can go. He can do whatever, and he'll do whatever. He's about 10 pounds soaking wet, but he's tough. He's a tough son of a gun. And Ecstatic, man, that's when he was the beginnings of the Silver Standard, and his way he's come so far from then, and he was so good then. He's so good now. But that match, man, it was a lot more hardcore than I thought it was going to be. I didn't think they were going to do all that stuff, and it did add. And some of the stuff, I don't think it hurt the match, but I think they could have done without, and still told the same story. But it surprised the hell out of me because I was sitting there with Cameron Jackson, and then we're talking with Navon. And Navon's he's always got something cooking. And Navon says, well, I can't let him do this. So he gets up. We don't know this is going on. Navon goes up and smashes Ecstatic with a guitar. I thought he was just supposed to be watching the match, and he surprised the hell out of me. And it's hard to surprise me.
Yeah.
It was just they were so good together. And then, you know, Ecstatic, he's got this air about him that he's been there before. He's been to that main event scene. He's been to a big show. He main evented Best in the Yard 1, and he'll tell you he wasn't ready for it. But I think Best in the Yard 2 with Jordan Oliver, man, they worked so well together. Then they had their rematch at King of the Yard. I haven't got to watch it, but I've heard some good things about it. And I think that showed how hardcore that Ecstatic could get. And I think Ecstatic was one of those guys that I thought for a long time if he would just get a little bit more tough in the ring and he would just hit people a little bit harder, he could really be something special. And man, Best in the Yard 2, he was swinging, man. He was swinging for the fences, him and Jordan both. And they worked a long time talking over that match to make sure it was how they wanted it and what story they wanted to tell. And, man, Ecstatic showed out that match, and Jordan as well. But I think Ecstatic, man, he won the crown for showing out because he really showed what the Silver Standard. We got to learn a lot about the Silver Standard in that match, especially afterwards. The way that he the kind of disrespect he showed Jordan. Usually in a match like that, people are going to shake hands. They didn't really have much of a beef going. But after that match, you know, as the Silver Standard does, he's too good for everybody else. So he got to really show who and what he was on that Best in the Yard 2.
All right, right. Yeah, I'd agree with you on that. I just had to bring that match up because, in my opinion, that one doesn't get talked about a whole lot either from Best in the Yard 2. But
yeah, I think with the way it was placed in the card, it just got kind of jammed there in the middle. And they had I can't remember where exactly it was on the card, but I just think where the placement on the card didn't help it much because you had, I think the last 3 matches were Dirty and I, then you had Storm and Walker, and you had the main event. And I think theirs might have been before mine. Mine and Dirty's, I can't remember. But I think where it was on the card, if it had been a little earlier in the show, I think it would have gotten a lot more recognition than it did. I just think it kind of got stuck there in the middle. And, you know, once you get stuck in the middle of a show, sometimes – I mean, I've seen it before with even some of my matches or other people's matches. Some people, it's in the middle of a show. It's a Best in the Yard's a long show to watch, man. I mean, I think that year it was like 4.5 hours, so you get stuck in the middle of a 4.5-hour show, man. Sometimes you just kind of don't pay attention. And it's not because what's going on is bad. It's because it's just a long show. It's hard to sit down and watch something for like 4 hours. It's hard to sit down and watch something for an hour. If you're not really into it, it doesn't catch your eye like that. But I think if that match would have been on a little bit earlier, people would be talking about it way more.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Any last thoughts you have about Best in the Yard 2 before we move on?
Best in the Yard 2, I think a lot of people share this thought. Best in the Yard 2 was kind of our version of throw everything to the wall and see if it sticks. Because they were trying to do they were trying to do what was it? I can't remember the other big super crossover they were trying. Supercar. We were trying to prove a point to the Supercar guys because I think it was the same group of guys. They weren't invited to Best in the Yard 1, and then they tried to do Dawn of Destiny, and that never happened. And so they did Supercard, and there was a lot of people at Supercard trying to quote unquote bury Best in the Yard. And I think a lot of us went out there with the attitude, all right, we're going to show you why this is called Best in the Yard and why yours is just a Supercard, ours is Best in the Yard. Yeah. And I think a lot of people were just trying to show why we're Best in the Yard. And I think because of that, it kind of gave off the vibe that everybody was trying to do their own thing and we weren't trying to kind of make the show flow. I think this year we did a great job making the show flow, but I think at Best in the Yard 2 was a lot of people trying to be individuals, and myself included. I was trying to be an individual. I was trying to stand out. But for where we were as far as a community and as a show, we did that Best in the Yard 1. We stood out as individuals. Best in the Yard 2 should have been when we really told a story through the whole show and wrapped it up with a nice big bow and sent everybody home. But I think Best in the Yard 2 had a bunch of start and stop. It was like watching a bunch of different shows on one show. And that's my only real criticism about it is that if we would have just worked together and wouldn't have been so much for trying to, quote unquote, bury the Supercar guys, what they thought they were trying to do. And I don't know if they were trying to bury us, but it's what it seemed like it. If we would have just been focused on trying to make the show flow better, it would have been so much. I mean, it did get high praise, but I think people would have been able to watch it better. It would have flowed better. People would have been, it would have been easier on the eyes. It wouldn't have been so much for people to take in each and every friggin' match because you can only take so much of one thing and you get tired of it. But that's my only criticism is that, man, if we could have just put our just like for Supercard behind, and we could have just let the show flow as a whole entire story, it would have been so much better.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that. From there, from Best in the Yard 2, we'd kind of see you a little bit more often in BTW, actually. What was that whole experience like for you?
All my stuff. I was in BTW. We filmed that Best in the Yard 2 weekend. We filmed Summer Blast, my match with Kevin Shaw, and then I came back in October and we filmed Halloween Hangover, Thanksgiving Thunder, Christmas Chaos, and a whole bunch of Vindications. Right. That was a long weekend, and that I see that as I was getting burned out after Best in the Yard 2. I was really getting burned out. And I was just trying to find something to freshen myself up, because you don't get to see Big Time Mike on programming regularly. I was on Vindication. I was on like every other Vindication. I was on every pay-per-view. I was in a high-profile match, and I got to do that whole program with Kevin Shaw, and that was a lot of fun because Kevin Shaw is a very close friend of mine now because of that. And I think I got to push Kevin. And I really wanted to take a step back after Best in the Yard 2 and become the old guy that kind of, quote-unquote, puts the young guys over to try and build the younger talent. Yeah. And I want to say I hope that's what we did, but I think I kind of shortchanged Kevin a little bit just because of how everything worked out. But it was a lot of fun getting to work with Kevin Shaw, and I got to toughen him up a little bit, especially after Summer Blast. We did Summer Blast, and we got to go Halloween Hangover. Then we did Thanksgiving Thunder with the 6-man, and then we did the Turbulence Ladder match. And it's one of my favorite programs because I love the long-term story I did with Kevin Shaw. I got my Keep It PG bands right here. I'm a Kevin Shaw fan. I have been since that day because that man's got a lot of heart. He really cares about what he does, and he really will do. He proved to me that whole weekend that he was willing to do whatever it took to make sure people understand that he was serious about this. Because I think a lot of people thought that Kevin wasn't serious about it, and Kevin shut a lot. He shut a lot of people up that weekend, man. Because I'm telling you, Kevin, we had the match at Summer Blast, and Kevin he wasn't used to the Big Time Mike match. He wasn't used to it, and it kind of shook him up a little bit. But as a champ, as a true competitor does, he came back because that was it. We filmed that in July, and then when we came back in October, he said, "All right, this is what's going to happen." He said, "We're going to have this program," and he said, "I want you to not hold anything back." He said, "It's the only way we're going to make this work. Only way it's going to get better. Only way I'm going to get better is to just wail on me." And that's what I did. I tried. That's probably one of the only times other than Rick Rios I've tried to hurt someone, because once again, I was doing what Kevin wanted to do, and two, I was trying to toughen him up, and he took it like a champ, man. I mean, that kid, he's tough. If I can say anything else about Kevin Shaw besides that he's just a great performer, he is tough. He's a tough son of a gun. He got the blade that weekend, or I got the blade for him. He wanted to do that. That was what he wanted to do, and I think that seeing Kevin Shaw get beat down like that, it really kind of builds him up as this underdog babyface. Yeah, he does get beat down. He does lose a lot. Maybe he wins one every once in a while, but he loses a lot. But he's an underdog babyface, and from there, he just went up, and up. I mean, he did well in the Reunion Rumble, and he was in the main event of BTW Mania, and a lot of people thought he was going to win. I thought he was going to win. Right. But man, I got to wrestle Kevin, like not do a bunch of gimmicks and not a bunch of steel chairs and not a bunch of other crazy stuff at Halloween Hangover, and that's probably one of my favorite matches of all time. And then you got the Turbulence Ladder match. As far as storytelling goes, it's one of my favorite storytelling matches of all time. Getting Cam to help me hold Kevin back while I snatch the briefcase, and he gets the world title pulled from his hands again. His opportunity gets pulled from his hands, and I become BTW roster member. So it was a lot of fun, man. Kevin Shaw, he's #1 in my book.
Yeah, I'll say that feud with you and then with the FTC in general, in my opinion, made Kevin Shaw into a bigger star, in my opinion, in the community than what he was beforehand.
Absolutely. And then we got that 6-man with Zach Daniels and Jamal Payne, and Kevin was in it too. That was so much fun because that was just like, we didn't want it to be just a normal 6-man match. We wanted it to be crazy, and it was crazy. You got to see it's 3 different guys, 3 different stories, and we're all coming together to kind of squash this this rebellion, I would say, with the VTW. We're trying to come in here and we're trying to dominate, and we did dominate, and it was hard hitting. I knocked Zach Daniels 300 yards. I don't think he was expecting it, but he took it like a champ. And once again, I beat down Kevin Shaw. I beat him pretty bad, and I got to witness my first Jamal Payne beat him because Jamal Payne rolled me up like a damn rolling pin with dough. He rolled me up. That man is probably one of the most explosive athletes I've ever come in contact with. He played football just like I did, but I'm not near that explosive. Jamal Payne is a monster. He's when they say you say the beast mode, he used to be beast mode. That man was a beast, and it was a lot of fun doing that, man. It was something different because the Thanksgiving Thunder before that, it was good, but you didn't get to see that real good 6-man action. And I think the Thanksgiving Thunder with the 6-man tag, man, it was so much fun to see that. I had never done a 6-man tag before. That was probably one of my first ever 6-man tags. And of course, we were on the trampoline, but I think a lot of the stuff that really caught people's eyes what happened on the outside when we got to do all the meddling, and then we did the where I feigned the injury, and then Drew hit the low blow, and Cam hit the black toad, and we called it. We pulled the win out like that, and I love doing stuff like that, man. I love that stuff.
Yeah, I would say it was a very good storytelling match, so as to speak, for that show. We would see you a couple more times in VTW besides against Kevin Shaw, but I want to dive into the last program that we actually seen you in. We kind of delved into it earlier. Well, we mentioned him earlier anyways. Your feud with Lips there.
Yeah, man. Everett and I had always joked about, man, I want either the Big Time versus Creed or Big Time versus Lips. And Big Time Creed just wasn't stacking up, so we said, well, hell, Big Time Lips, that'll work real well. Mm-hmm. Man, that was I'm not gonna lie to you. I put a lot into that feud as far as promos go, but as far as mentally up here, I was burned out. I had to take some time off. I was so burned out after that weekend, and the promos were a lot of fun because Everett he did a really good job with the I think especially the voicemails. He did the Lips voicemails to Big Time. Mm-hmm. It kind of, if you ever played the Batman Arkham City, if you ever played that game before, there's a point in the game when the Joker leaves you voicemails as Batman, and that's what it reminded me of. Because and the way we wanted to build the story was Lips was Big Time Mike. You take a few things out here, or one bad day, Big Time Mike can be Lips because Lips is crazy, Big Time Mike's crazy. Lips you can't prepare for Lips, just like you can't prepare for Big Time Mike. Big Time Mike is one bad day away from becoming Lips. I mean, and then especially I think another thing that stands out to me about that feud is I did the whole where he kind of messes with my mind, and I'm in the little sexy whatchamadoodle and the little lingerie thing, and then he gets the FTC and he paints on it with some white substance lotion, and he gets all in my head, man. I love that kind of stuff. And then we did I was supposed to be the bad guy, and I wanted people to cheer for Lips, and I think they did. And I think a lot of times with the Lips matches that people are so grossed out with what he does that he can't really be a babyface because you don't really have a character because the only way to get a Lips character to become that babyface is to fear him. If you're a bad guy, you have to be in fear of a monster because you have to treat him like a monster.
Right.
And I had a lot of fun, man. I was watching a lot of Breaking Bad, and I got into Sons of Anarchy. I was getting into a lot of these really obscure, like really good drama shows, and I got to really become more of an actor than I did an actual wrestler because I think a whole lot of that match was just being a character and just being able to go over the top. And the kiss thing, and man, it was a lot of fun, man. A lot of people, it doesn't get talked about because it was on a really great show, but I think that story, man, we could have went so much farther with that story. But I think that just the way, even putting in the ankle lock and him being such a monster that I can put the ankle lock on him, he's not crying in pain, he's laughing, he enjoys it. It's like he's reached his nirvana, he's reached his point of almost an orgasmic feeling, and he passes out and he taps out or whatever. But I think that there's so much fun doing that. Everett is he's such a grade A character. He's so good. If you want to watch someone go from Everett Creed to Lips to anything else, he can. Even the Winnipeg Warrior, man, it's like 3 different characters, one man's mind. I mean, that's talent right there. I will much rather watch something like that than I will a 5-star hold for hold, catch as catch can style wrestling match, because it's just it just draws you in, it sucks you in, man. It keeps you focused on that, your attention. You don't have to worry about knowing what the hold is or why they're doing the hold. You see that character and you see what he does and how he walks, how he talks, how he moves, even the way he looks at somebody, and you can feel it. It makes you feel either disgust or disdain, or you're like, man, I want that guy to win. I want him to beat Big Time, because Big Time Mike he's in in that feud. I was trying to be the ignorant guy from down south that, you know, I didn't want to embrace the new world ideas. Lips is the new world. Big Time Mike's the old world. You got the new world and the old world clashing. There's always going to be fireworks there, man. It was a lot of fun, a whole lot of fun.
All right. Before I move into the next part, is there any matches or feuds that I haven't touched on besides Best in the Art 3, which we'll get into here, that you would like to mention that you were a part of?
I think a match that really sticks out to me is I had a match with Cameron Jackson at FBW All Stars 3. That was a lot of fun, man. Cam is like, I say this a lot, that Cam and I are selling the same product. We're just selling it in two completely different ways. Cam and I are so similar, yet we're so different that when you put us in the ring together, it's got to be good. It's got to be good somewhere or the other, no matter what it is. It's got to be good. And man, that feud with Cam, he really got to kind of take shots at Big Time, because you've never seen Cameron Jackson take shots at Big Time Mike ever, and you'd never really. That was kind of one of the, besides working with Drew, that was one of the other guys that really made me scratch my head. I was like, what the hell how am I going to respond to this? You know, and Cam does such a great job with building a story, but he's also, he'll say this too, he pushed me just as much as I pushed him. I tried to push him, and he tried to push me. It wasn't like that. We weren't going to accept anything but the best from each other. Right. And if it was a dud, we told you, man, that was a dud. Why'd you do that? Why'd you respond like this, man? Now we have to do like this to kind of build back from where we messed up at. Cam is one of those guys that really pushed me and made me become a better promo and a better storyteller. That match is a lot of fun because we didn't do a lot of wrestling. We did a lot of gimmick and a lot of storytelling. It was a lot of fun, man. A whole lot of fun.
Yeah, okay. So before I get into Best in the Art 3, I do want to kind of go back onto a subject that we talked on a little bit earlier. You mentioned that you had the Big Time Talk Show, as pretty much everybody knows. From there, you went to Half and Half with Cameron Jackson. How much of a difference would you say there was between those two shows?
Big Time Talk Show was a one-man show. That was me. That was me pulling the strings. I think with Half and Half, we got to play off each other because it was basically half of the Big Time Talk Show and half of the Backyard Wrestling Fix.
Mm-hmm.
What the Backyard Wrestling Fix lacked, the Big Time Talk Show brought to it, and what the Big Time Talk Show lacked, the Backyard Wrestling Fix brought to it. Because both are, my show is not guest driven. At the beginning of the Backyard Wrestling Fix, it was very guest driven. The guest on was kind of what made the show because it was an interview. The Big Time Talk Show was just me that was like my weekly program. That was like my vindication, was the Big Time Talk Show. That was my bread and butter. But I think we got to see the two shows, and we got to go back and forth. And a whole lot of fun with that, man, was getting the double team guest, man, because we were trying to be heels, and we were trying to really, that time, like I was saying, we were trying to get under people's skin. We were trying to get people to think, and we caught a lot of people with their pants down. We got a lot of good people like that. We caught one of our very favorites was the Aaron Jones case. We got him so riled up that he really thought that we got him on there just to make him look dumb. And out of a place of love, we were trying to get him to fire up because that's what everybody loves about Aaron Jones babyface. Aaron Jones is a babyface. He's a hard fire up. He's a hard nosed babyface. He is that man's man. He's that badass, and that's what we were trying to bring out of him. Man, that was a lot of fun. But I think, like I said, what they differ the most from is that Half and Half. It allowed me to communicate with the community, and then not just to hear my voice, to hear Cam's voice, because we complement each other. Even with promos, even being on the same screen, we complement each other. Where Cam doesn't touch as much on certain subjects, I bring that out. And where I fall short in some subjects, Cam really helps bring that. If I'd ever lose track, he would bring me back. Or if he lost track, I'd bring him back. We work so well together, all three of us, Cam, myself, and Drew. But that was the Half and Half was just me and Cam. We got to really just brainstorm and just be creative and pretty much create our own little world. We lived in our own little world on Half and Half.
Now, do you think there'll be a time where we might see Big Time Mike in another talk show scenario type of thing, even though obviously we're not going to see you in the ring?
Yeah, I'd love to do that again. I don't really have the time anymore to do that because I'm doing a whole bunch of other stuff right now, trying to get everything squared away for my future and everything in my life. But man, I love that. That was what that to me is that's why I love this Tiger Talks Wrestling. I love it, man, because it's like there's only so much you can do week to week programming on Vindication or on a lockdown or anything else, even like on a BW show. There's only so much you can do in the ring. A lot of what helped get this community, I guess, over, you'd say, or get this community into what it is today is these talk shows, because it allowed the fans to see another side of who you are as a character, as a person, to get to see why you do what you do. Because, I mean, not everyone's going to get a time to go out there during the show and cut a promo. Or a lot of people aren't familiar with, some people may watch Vindication just because they like Zach Daniels. Some people may not know who K9 or Casey James is, or anybody. I think it's Casey Chambers or Casey James. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's Casey Chambers.
Casey Chambers. Okay, so there are a lot of people may not know these new guys, even though they're hella talented, man. They're so good at what they do. And even some veterans, that are, I guess you wouldn't call him a veteran, but a guy that's been here a while, Jamal Payne, a lot of people may just watch Vindication for their favorites, and they may not know some of these people. So stuff like this, these talk shows, man, it's crucial to what we do. It just gives another layer to the character and to the person, and it's another form of entertainment, because I don't want to watch wrestling 5 nights a week, even though I love it. I want to see some talking. I want to see, when you watch football, you want to see someone break down what happened. You want to see the pregame, what's the keys to victory, this here and this there. But these are the kinds of things that really help get a character over and really help bring the audience in and kind of familiarize the audience with the characters. But if the right time and right place, right people, most definitely, I'm always open to it. But it has to be the right time, right place, and for the right reasons.
Right. Yeah, no, for me, there was this guy H2 that a lot of people probably haven't heard of in this community that got me to decide to start doing this talk show. And I honestly watched Cam and Drew's pretty much FTC show, and I was like, well, I could give that a try, see what I can do with that, because they don't have their shows that often anymore, for one thing. And like you said, I think it's a good outlet to get some of these younger guys out there too. So, get some of the veterans, so as to speak, out there as well, a little bit more. But yeah, I would definitely, I think a lot of people would like to see, if the time and place came, that you would come back for another show of some sort. Let's move into Best in the Yard 3 here. So we hadn't seen you for a little while on TV for anything, on camera. And then we start seeing you call out this person. We didn't know who it was at first necessarily, because you didn't specify that it was Rick Rios. Obviously, it became the part that it was Rick, and you called him out where he denied you at first the match at Best in the Yard 3. Want to take us through the whole promo process that you guys had leading into that and match?
Best in the Yard 3, that build-up is my favorite of all time, because I got to become something. You've never seen Big Time Mike. I wanted to really become emotional, because I think a lot of what lacked in my promos was I was always confident about something. I was always over the top. I was always catchphrase here, catchphrase there. I wanted to really bring it. I guess I say this a lot, bring it back to the basics. And I really wanted people to feel how I was feeling. I wanted people to see that this is not the same Big Time Mike we saw at Best in the Yard 2. This is not even the same Big Time Mike we saw at Christmas Chaos last time we saw it. This is an older, worn down, pretty much he's done. He doesn't have anything left. And the only reason he has not retired is because he can't live with himself to know, can I beat Rick Rios? Because the match ended in a no contest, because he picked me up and tossed me like a pizza. I hit the stage. I went out. And Rick, he didn't have anything left in him, so he went out. So that was unanswered for me as Big Time Mike. I was like, well, how can I leave this that I've put so much time, so much work, so much effort to, something that I've helped build, this community? How can I leave it without knowing if I can beat Rick? And I mean, I'll tell you right now, doing the Best in Yard 2 promos, I was down. I say I was down in depression. I was really down in a depression for Best in the Yard 3. I was sad. I was watching a lot of sad TV shows. I was listening to a lot of sad music. I was down. I was at almost at the point of getting kicked out of my college. I was at the point of almost getting fired at work. I was at the point of having to pretty much get out of the situation I was in, because I was so down and out. I was trying to get so down and out in life, and I was trying to get down and out in the backyard wrestling. And I knew the only way, once again, that this would stand out is if this was an emotional roller coaster. And I think when I actually cut these promos right in here, right on this wall right here. I cut the promo whenever I said I couldn't do it, and I begged Rick, don't make me do it. And that's a joke now behind the scenes. Don't make me do it, Rick, because I said it so many times. But I wanted to emphasize that I was only going to do it one more time. And if I couldn't beat Rick Rios, I did not deserve to come out there and be Big Time Mike. Michael Miles did not deserve to come out there and be Big Time Mike. And I'm telling you, after a lot of those promos, I sat there and I cried and I cried and I cried and I tried to find it within myself to be happy. But I knew the only way I was going to really be happy was if I could put this chapter of my life behind me. And Rick, man, I've even said it with a WrestleCon. Rick Rios he was already a superstar, but he really became a superstar with those promos because he gave the correct rebuttal. He wasn't trying to holler and scream, because that would have really turned people off of it, because that's my thing. I holler and I scream.
Yep.
People don't holler and scream back at me, or else it would just be two people yelling at each other. Rick Rios was in my head. He was messing with me. He was all around me. All I could think about was, can I beat Rick Rios? No, you can't. Can I beat Rick Rios? No, you can't. There was a lot of promos that I filmed I didn't put out because I just think it would just kill the bill. There was a promo I put out where my wife, she left me because she didn't think I was the person that she married, because I'm so focused on Rick Rios that I don't have my other parts of my life in order. There was a promo that I filmed where I physically hurt myself. I'm not going to say what I did, but I hurt myself on camera. And I didn't want to put that out there because I was like, this is really going to kill it. But I was in a dark place for Best in the R3, and I was ready to get out there. And it was the first time anybody had seen me in the ring. I was really self-conscious about how I was going to look in the ring, how it was going to be. So I knew the only way for me to go through this and to finish this was to just make this the most storytelling and the most depressing match you had ever seen, the most depressing Big Time Mike you'd ever seen.
Right.
And it wouldn't have been possible without Cam and Drew. If Cam and Drew wouldn't have been there, it would have been a dud. I was back there. I was in tears and gorilla. And me and Rick had talked about it. Of course, me and Rick, we work so well together that we don't really have to talk about much. I mean, we had some stuff planned, but with every Rick Rios and Big Time Mike match, somebody gets hurt. So we had a lot of more stuff planned, but Rick got hurt halfway through because I was giving him everything I got. I did not want that match to be hardcore. I did not want that match to be, see Big Time Mike, oh, look, he's beating up Rick Rios, but Big Time Mike hadn't been in the ring since December. Really, if you want to think about it, hadn't been in the ring since October.
Yeah.
And Rick Rios has been on programming constantly. Why in the hell would Big Time Mike, who's clearly not the same guy we've seen before, why would he be dominant over Rick Rios? Logically speaking, I'm not in the right state of mind mentally. The only thing that gives me any chance in this is my emotion. That's Rick Rios is the one thing that Big Time Mike has is his emotions. And I think when I walked through that curtain, I did not know what was going on. Nobody was there but myself and Rick. And when I walked through the curtain, I meant every single word I said. I begged him not to let me do it, and he made me do it. He made me put on that persona, those sunglasses, one more time. And there was only one way I was going to go out, was with my two best friends next to me. They didn't help because if they would have helped, it would have been tainted. It would not have been really what it could have been. And I think I wanted that match to be sad. I wanted people to be upset, but I did not think I was going to get the response that I got from it. I thought that people were just going to be like, man, this is sad. Mike's gone. It was a sad thing, but it's over and done with. I did not think that after that match was over, I have never cried so much over one thing than I did after that match. And I've never felt the amount of respect and love from a group of people than I did after that match. After the cameras went off, we spent a good 30 minutes to an hour. It felt like an eternity, sitting there hugging and crying and snot dripping everywhere. And I've never been around a group of people that respected me for something that I never thought I was that good at in the first place. I thought I stood out maybe, but I never thought I was half the man that I was made to be after Best in the R3. That Best in the R3 match is one of the greatest moments of my life, because since I ever started watching wrestling, the only thing I ever wanted to do was grab a mic and cut a promo. And then I wanted to be in the ring, and I finally got to be in the ring. And yeah, was it the best hold for hold wrestling match? No, but I think if you have a good argument for it or against it, whatever, I think that match was the most storytelling match on that show. And I think we brought it back to the basics, and I had a lot of dialogue. I wanted to make it like a fight scene in a movie. I wanted it to make it look like Rick's the bad guy, I'm the good guy, but I have to pay for my sins. Logically, I have to. I've done all these horrible things. I mean, I've said it before. I beat Kevin Shaw within an inch of his life. I made Dirty DeChico quit because I was too much of a coward. I had to hold a girl hostage. And I'm sorry for that, Kirsten, because after that, everybody just wanted to hold Kirsten hostage and power bomber and pile driver. But, I mean, I held a girl hostage. I mean, I tortured a guy. I had sexual – I shouted sexual slurs at Lips, who in reality, he's really not a bad guy. And I had to pay for everything I'd done. And Rick Rios made me pay. And I told him when he did that chair shot, he was going to handcuff me, and we were supposed to do the Foley and Rock finish. Mm-hmm. With at the I Quit match, and I told Rick, I said, bring me in front of Cam and Drew, and I said, if this is real, if they feel the real emotion that I want people to feel, they'll give me a real natural response. And if you watch that, Rick leans back and he hits me as hard as he can in the head. I didn't put my hands up. I didn't want to. I started seeing stars. If you watch the camera, Cam walks away. And Drew just ducks his head. And the count started, and Rick he didn't have any gas left in him. He was supposed to get like 6 or 7 more shots in, but he didn't have any more gas in him. So, and Jason Walker, he's a good friend of mine. I heard his voice shaking as he got to 7, 8, and I just felt the air suck out of the room when he got to 10. And I've never, like I said, I've never felt so relieved yet so sad in my life. Right. I felt like I was watching my firstborn die. When that happened, and those two guys after we went into Gorilla after they did the whole send off with raising my hand and everything, that felt like all was right in the world when I got back there with those two guys, because they're a big part of my life. They're my two brothers. I love them.
Right. I know for me personally, I just seen it coming pretty much. Not necessarily the way the match ended, but just the feeling going into Best in the Yard to me was you just had to know that it was the end for you. And I'll give you props for giving it to Rick, because, like you said, you guys took each other to the limit at WrestleCon, and honestly, I couldn't see anybody else who would be the right fit to retire you, and other than Rick Rios.
Yeah, man, Rick. Like I said, Rick deserved it. Rick needed it because he needed that next step. Because, I mean, Rick was going places, don't get me wrong. I mean, I think he'll be just as well off as he was without the match. But I think with that match, it really pushed Rick to another level. And I think he's got a lot of good stuff coming up. I know for sure he's got a lot of good stuff coming up. And, man, he's man, they say the future. No, Rick Rios is the present. Rick Rios is a man. That Rick Rios is a backyard. He is a backyard wrestler. He is a superstar, and I wish nothing but the best for Ricky. Good friend of mine behind the scenes. I still try and keep in touch with him as much as possible. Good friend, good worker, good superstar, great performer, all around. He's a good guy, great guy.
All right. So, is there any other stories that you might have from Best in the Yard 3?
Oh God. I will say I got two. One's kind of sentimental to me. The other is hilarious. Yep. So the night after Best in the Yard 3, we had been up. I know myself and Zach Daniels and Cameron Jackson, Kevin Shaw, and several others had been up since 2 o'clock that morning. We got let's see, me and Kevin drove and got the ring truck, and then I went to Hardee's and we got people some biscuits and some breakfast. And then we met Zach Daniels and Kirsten at the building, and everybody else was up. And we loaded the ring truck up, the U-Haul up with the ring. We went to the building. We set it up. We set the ring up and everything. And then I was back there before the show started, and we cooked everyone some burgers and hot dogs so no one had to leave, so we could all be there as a family and run this like an actual show. And we set everything up. We had everything ready. And then when we got done filming, probably about 10 o'clock, maybe 10:30, 11, after the great main event, Zach and Yankee, they tore the house down, man. It was been torn down so many times, but they took it that night. They did a great job. Great story, great everything. But we stayed, and we got out of there about probably 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. And it was myself, Cameron Jackson, Drew Hood, Kevin Shaw. We dropped the ring truck off. We went to McDonald's. On the way there, we saw a group of people world star fighting, 2 women fighting each other. It's a lot of fun to see that. We were laughing our asses off. We get in the drive-through. We order our damn chicken nuggets and our Cokes and burgers, and we get back to the hotel room, and we just lay on the bed. And you would have never thought that 2 or 3 years ago, all 4 of us would be in a motel room in Claremont, North Carolina, eating chicken nuggets and eating burgers and watching the WWE Network, just reminiscing, man. It was so much fun. However, the next night, since no one had got to get the rib, I guess we'd say the best in the yard rib is when the FTC in some way, form, or fashion, or I guess you call it the crossover rib. The crossover rib is when the FTC keeps people up and does not let anyone sleep. So that night we went to dinner. Those of us that were still there, it was the FTC, Kevin Shaw, Nevon McDonald. I think Yankee was still there. I think most of the crossover guys that had traveled were still there, and we all went and ate at this restaurant. We went home or went to the motel room, and Nevon McDonald had to catch a flight the next morning about 5. I think like 4 or 5 in the morning he had to get up. So the whole night, myself, Cam, and Drew and Kevin are in the motel room, and we are making fun of Novin. We are doing our best impression of Novin. So we get a good idea. We go across the hall to Victor Van Pelt, and at the time it was Dagan Raw. And we did it for them, and they were cracking up laughing. Got on everyone's Snapchat. So then we get the big idea. Well, let's call Nevon. So we call Nevon, and like Nevon, he's good. I don't know if he does it just to let the rib go, or he's just a good ribber, but he takes it so well. He answers the phone, doing the Novin impression, and who is this? We say, it's Nevon, it's Novin. We're here coming for you. Destroy Drew Hood? Is that what you say, Tabitha? He hangs up. We call him again. He's getting more and more mad. We're in there with Yankee. He gives the phone to Yankee. Yankee says, man, y'all better calm down. He's getting really upset. And I said, well, what time's he got to be up? He said he's got to go catch a flight at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. So we keep on calling him. He's finally had enough. He says in classic Nevon voice, if y'all don't shut the fuck up, I'm going to come to that motel room and beat you down. Okay, Nevon. We call him back again. I give him the whole spill. Cam gives him his whole spill. Drew gives him his whole spill. Kevin gives him his whole spill. They give the phone back to me. I want Nevon to come over to this room because I know it's going to make my night if he comes over here and knocks the door down and just beats us into oblivion. So we're talking to Nevon, and he says, bye, bitch. Hangs up on me. I don't see Nevon. He doesn't send me a message or us a message telling us he's okay. So he gets home and gets on his flight, and he's pissed. He stayed mad at us for about a good probably 2 or 3 weeks after that, man. It was a lot of fun seeing Nevon McDonald. He's so good at taking a rib, man. He's so good at it. He's good. He's good at everything, man. Man, just hearing his reaction, and then seeing all the Snapchat videos after. Good Lord, I didn't know I could make one human being that mad. It was fun, man.
All right. So I want to get into Best in the Yard a little bit more, but let's get into some of the matches that happened. But first, I want to get into a moment that you were a part of during one match.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, the Kevin Shaw, Victor Van Pelt match we're referring to.
Oh, yeah. When I got to oh, boy, that's how all these matches, all these little moments take place. If someone sends me a message or just asks me, Kevin Shaw sends me a message on Messenger one day and says, hey, Mike, give me a call when you get a chance. I got to ask you something. So I'm thinking like this is serious because sometimes you can't really tell what someone's intentions are if he's joking or if he's being serious. So I call Kev, hey, Kev, what's up? He says, so, yeah, I got that match with Victor at Best in the Yard. He said, you want to be my mom? And I said, sure. No, of course, no second thoughts. No, like, well, how are we going to do this? Nope, sure, I'll be your mom. Why not? Right. So a couple days before Best in the Yard, I get up to Drew Hood's house, and we go shopping. Got to go find Mama Shaw a dress. And so you can imagine how hard it is to find me a dress. So we go into Old Navy looking for a dress. I go into the dressing room and try it on, and it fits just right. And the looks that I got coming out of that dressing room with a big flowery dress and a big puffy hat, I've never really been embarrassed, but I was pretty embarrassed because we got to the checkout line and the lady says, well, do you want your receipt to return? And I said, no, we're not going to be returning this. So we get to the show, and I'm trying to keep it a secret. Nobody knows that I'm supposed to be his mom. So I'm back there in Gorilla. I've successfully changed into my dress and put my hat on. And next thing I know, the gorilla was right there by where the restrooms were. So next thing I know, Chase Bridges comes walking through the curtain and looks at me and just gives me this, okay, you know, because Chase, he's an actor, so he gets it. He walks out, goes to the bathroom. Then Dirty DeChico comes walking through the curtain and gives me the most, like, I have never seen a human being look more disgusted at me than he looked at me in that moment in time. He looked at me just like, who are you? He said, what are you doing? I said, oh, I got to go out here and get the match. He said, no, what are you doing? Why are you wearing that? I was like, oh, you know, I'm his mom. And he just shakes his head and walks away. But that was a lot of fun, man. Bryce and Kevin, or Victor and Kevin, I should say. Two very underrated guys, like I've said before. But, man, they did a great job. Their match stood out at Best in the Yard. And I was happy to just be a part of it, man. It was so much fun. And getting to just be a character, man. Just be over the top, be a character. And then got to find out that Buford is Kevin's dad. So I'm Kevin's mom, and Cam is Kevin's dad. So that's always good to know. And the Shaw family tree is very colorful, and we're very from different locations. But yeah, we got to do the I got to do the kiss on Victor, and then he gets to propose to me, and then Kevin hits him with his finish, and then he comes over the top, and I get to catch him, and it's a lot of fun, man. Whole lot of fun. It was besides the match that night, and then Cam and Drew's matches, that was the highlight of the show for me. It was getting to do that stuff with Kevin and Victor.
Man, you really raised that Kevin boy right now, didn't you?
Yeah, he's a good boy. I raised him right now. I raised him right.
Yeah.
Living that, keeping a PG life.
What's that?
Living that PG life.
Yeah, living that.
Tony, you think this is?
I don't know how PG it is.
You think this is
your dad and I'm your mom, so I don't know how PG that is, but he turned out to be a good kid.
Right?
You know, sometimes it's best to not think about it. But Tony, you think that's a gimmick? No, that's how Kevin actually lives his life. He's all PG all the way.
Oh yeah, good.
I believe it.
Good boy. Good young man. Good Christian young man.
Yes.
Good Christian young boy. All right.
He went to a good Christian school.
All right, so I'll get your opinion on, for Best in the Yard 3, are there any matches that you think are underrated from that show that don't get talked about that much?
I think the Victor and Kevin Shaw match is highly underrated. I think that obviously the one that was going to stand out the most was Cage and CJE, Cage and Cam.
Yep.
Cage got to bring over the huge KBW. I mean, I bring over a KBW audience, but Cage brings a huge. I mean, he brings the entire KBW. It's like bringing a whole new world, man. We just got so many more eyes on the product. I think that a lot of people like that match. That was obviously going to be a show stealer. I think that Novin and Drew, I think it deserves a lot of credit because they did a Drew, like I said before, he's so creative when it comes to storytelling, man. Nobody comes up with a story like Drew does. Right. And Novin and Navon, he's a great storyteller himself, really creative mind. And I don't think it gets a lot of I don't think it's talked about as much as I would like it to be, just because I think and if I could switch them, I would have liked for his to go on. I mean, if I could not be selfish for a minute, I would have thought that, you know, Drew's match, a lot of people would think it would get caught up in the shuffle. But, man, if I could have swapped any place with anybody, I would have loved to swap with them because they really deserve that high profile because it was. I mean, you saw the pageantry with Nova's entrance. He went all out, and then Drew with his megastar, man. Drew is a megastar, and I'll say that time and time and time again. But I think the triple threat match, it was D-Lock, Chase Bridges, and then his name, Jackson Hendricks. I always just call him Jax. That triple threat match, a lot of people thought, I know in my little circle, we thought we were going to get caught in the shuffle just because it was kind of like a workhorse match. But, man, what a great match. And what a showing by Jackson Hendricks.
Oh, yes, I agree.
His first best in yard, and the Chase and D-Lock have, this is their second best in yard. They've been there.
Right.
But Jackson Hendricks, I thought that he was going to do well. I didn't think he was going to do that well. That man made it hard. Right. What a performer, what an athlete, man. I don't see many athletes like that anymore. I mean, you got, Dustin Reagan, D-Lock, and Chase Bridges, but man, he is an athlete, dude. That dude can do it all. And I think that match deserves a lot of chatter because that's what you talk about Monday morning at the water fountain right there. That right. Is, man, what a story too. They didn't have much to go. I didn't have much of a story to go off of. But, man,
Yeah.
what a match. I loved it, man. It had me on the edge of my seat. I was sitting next to Kevin and I think Aaron Jones, man, and we were just had our jaws hit the floor so many times, man. It was a great thing to watch. Awesome.
Yeah, I know that's one match that I try to get a chance to talk about on most of these podcasts because I feel also it's a little underrated and doesn't get talked about a whole lot otherwise. But yeah, I agree fully with you on Jackson Hendricks. I had watched a little bit of him before Best in the Yard, his company that he works in, but still, to me, all three did very good in that match. But to me, Jackson just stole the show out of the three of them, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, man. And I think and there's some other matches too. I mean, like Jamal Payne and
Evan Blake.
Yeah, Evan Blake. I don't know. I always want to call him by his real name, Alex. I don't know why. But man, Jamal Payne and Evan Blake, they had a very good story. It was very creative with that whole the whole fight at King of the Yard, and they did the whole the round table with Cam, and I got the opportunity to go on there and kind of shake it up a little bit. And man, they did so good. Like I said, Jamal Payne is he's a great athlete, but man, he's such a good big man. He's so explosive, and Evan Blake's just a fighter, man. That dude's tough as nails. I mean, I saw beforehand they were trying to fight each other before the match. They were back there in gorilla just slapping the hell out of each other because they were all just pumped up. And I'm sitting here watching. I'm just like, I wish the camera was back there. Damn, they're killing each other before the match starts. But man, I think a lot of people wouldn't say didn't like the match. I think a lot of people just didn't catch the story. But man, it was a great match. I don't know why people aren't talking about that a lot more. Evan Blake and Jamal Payne making their Best in the Yard debut. It needs to be talked about a lot more too.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. I kind of think that part of it was the whole 15-minute time limit might have been a little bit to do with it. It just got crammed. The whole match got crammed, and their falls that they had during it, the 2 falls each in that 15 minutes, I think might have hindered it a little bit.
But I do see what they were trying to do because a big argument, not really argument, but a big discussion going into the show was we were trying to make this flow, and it did flow. We didn't want to be Best in the Yard 2 last year where everybody had 20 or 30 minutes. We wanted to have time limits. That's one thing I think they've implemented more since then, which is great because it helps the show go by so much better. And they wanted to be disciplined. They wanted to show up and be like, look, we can do our stick in 15 minutes and it still be better than y'all's. That was their attitude, and that's the attitude you have to go into a show like Best in the Yard. I applaud them for it, man. That was I'm glad they did that because it really showed that they were disciplined enough to think, well, I don't need 30 minutes. Just give me 15 minutes and maybe a few extra to get what I need done, get my story told, and really add to this show. I loved it, man. I loved it.
Yeah, I know it. For me, being that short, the match that they did put on made it so that I'd love to see a rematch between them at some point. So.
Oh man, when the rematch happens, it's gonna be good. All the stuff that Jamal's doing on BTW now, man, it's gonna be good, real good.
Right, and of course the whole Evan now being part of the Murder Club too. That's gonna that'll make for an interesting story wise.
I want to say I was disappointed that he joined the Murder Club because I thought was a little bit smarter than that, but I can see why he would do it. I mean, it's like you're going to join the winning team. And what a better time to do it than Best in the Yard. I mean, he would, and of course the Murder Club didn't come out at the end. Yankee did not win at Best in the Yard 3, but as far as just dominance in the the backyard scene, they're dominant, man. They're if you want to compare them to any sports team, they're the Crimson Tide, man. They are dominant. If I have to stand across the line from that Murder Club symbol, I can't tell you I would be as confident as I am because I don't think I could. That those guys are a force to be reckoned with, and I do not want to get in the ring with them unless I absolutely have to.
Right. So now, before I move on from Best in the Yard, I gotta ask because I ask pretty much everybody. Was a lot of debate I seen on YouTube and from some people on Twitter of the main event from Best in the Yard 3. Do you believe that Zach and Yankee were the right match to put on last, or do you think a different match? A lot of people say Cage and Cam should have went on last.
I kept hearing a lot of things about how Cameron Jackson and Cage should have been the main event, or me and Rick should have been the main event. But I wouldn't have liked it. I'm glad that Zach and Yankee got to be the main event because they put a lot into. They started building this when we did the October filmings for Halloween Hangover. They started building this. That was our first time we met Yankee, and props to Zach and Yankee because they didn't really know each other. They were trying to build something out of nothing. And I do think at times it kind of got a little bit much. with the language and everything. But Yankee is one of those old school guys, man, that he wants to be a hated heel. He wants to be hated, and and Zach Daniels is the perfect. Zach Daniels has put on so many show stealers at every single show he's been on, yet he's still not talked about as much because he hasn't had that long-term feud. And I think that thing with Yankee really made him the center, the prestigious one. We got to see Zach Daniels, for as much as people call him a great wrestler, he is a great performer. There's something about when you look into another man's eyes and you know that he believes what he's saying. Zach Daniels believes who and what he is. He knows who he is. I mean, if you look, I felt bad when I was watching the pre-show and I watched him powerbomb Kirsten. I got upset. I stood up and they were like, "Whoa, Mike, calm down. This isn't real. This is a work." So they got me. I was looking at his next face and I got teary-eyed because I could imagine myself in that situation. So I think it deserved the main event. I think a lot of people are going to say that it didn't, but for the kind of match they had and the kind of show they had to follow, no pun intended, they had to follow a lot. And they did a good job, man. Hats off to them. Yankee always does good. He's a veteran in the ring. Of course, in this scene in backyard wrestling, he had not known as much as Zach Daniels is, but they're both so good, and they complement each other so well. Yankee's such a good big man, and Zach he was good at playing the underdog and really coming from underneath and pulling out that victory. I loved it, man. I enjoyed watching it. I was spent emotionally after, but they still hooked me even after because I went on right before. Even watching it, man, it was something else, man.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I felt that Zach and Yankee did deserve that main event because they had almost a year build for one. And then just looking at what Zach Daniels' work was at Best in the Yard 1 and 2 and in BTW for the year leading up to Best in the Yard 3, it was enough for me to put them in the main event.
Yeah.
That's why I would say they deserved it. No knock to Cage and Cam. With the way their finish was, it wouldn't have felt like the right spot to be in the main event, in my opinion.
Yeah, and also when you're building a show like that, you want to send the fans home happy, especially like a big show like, I mean, it's kind of like our WrestleMania. I mean, you want to send fans home happy. You want to reward them after 5.5 hours of content, not including the pre-show. Good Jesus.
Right.
Whew. That's a long show for me to watch, much less somebody that wasn't there and doesn't know how much work we put on behind the scenes. I mean, kudos to that. That was right because you want to send people. If they had sent them home with me retiring, as much as people were upset about it, I wouldn't have been happy about it because you're sending people home upset, sad. And now when they watch the next show, the only thing they're going to have to build off of is, man, that was really sad. But no, we got to see Zach Daniels overcome his demons and beat Yankee, and that was real special for Zach because Zach he wanted that main event because he had been kind of overlooked at Best in the Yard 1, and then again Best in the Yard 2 kind of overlooked there, but Best in the Yard 3 he got to prove his point that he is Zach Daniels and he's here to stay. He's good at what he does, that nobody can touch Zach when he's at his zenith, when he's at his peak. You can't touch Zach Daniels.
Okay, well, speaking of Zach Daniels, I want to talk for a moment here on VTW. Have you gotten the chance to watch Vindication that aired last night, Dave Gold?
Yeah, I did, and yeah, I did. That's all I can't say I'm not as a friend as Drew Hood is my brother. I'm upset that he's not the world champ, but I should be because as much as I sing Zach Daniels' praise, he does deserve the world title. Right. I just wish it wouldn't have come at the expense of Drew Hood. And a lot of people are talking about, is Drew going to retire? I hope he doesn't, but that's what some guys, and I'll say this before, say it again, some guys like Drew, like Zach, like Cam, like Kevin, like a few other guys, a lot of guys out here, we don't just want to come in here and do this and just be on programming every week. We have to be at the pinnacle. We have to be pulling the weight. If we're not in the spotlight, if we're not pulling the weight, we don't want to be a part of it. And I think Zach was to that point where he felt like he had good matches. He had done this. He had that good story at Best in the Yard 3, and he was, what did you say, Mr. Best in the Yard. Yeah. Wasn't really taken seriously. And then I think winning that world title, yeah, he's taken seriously. But then you got a guy like Drew Hood, who since he came into BTW has made more than a splash. He's carried his weight. He's carried that company. From the time when he started, when he was a YouTube champ, to when he was a world champion. He had a world title match with Slick Gibson. I mean, that man has carried the company as well as Zach Daniels, and I think I don't want it to be at the expense of Drew because Drew's got so much left in him. But I don't want to see him retire. I haven't talked to him about it. I don't think he really wants to talk about it, to be honest with you, because I think he's just to the point now where if he's not pulling the weight, he's to the point where he can't be a part of it because it hurts him too much to know that he's not doing all that he can.
Right.
And that's just where you get to, when you get to be a performer, you get to the point where if I'm not pulling the weight, I don't feel like I'm helping the company because I feel like I'm the best guy for the job. But if this guy's going to take my job, why should I even be in it? Because then you just lose complete faith in the product. You lose your faith and your pull in the company. You feel like you're not appreciated. And I think Drew is to that point now where since he lost the belt, I don't know what he's going to do. It's up to him. He's his own man. He'll do whatever he thinks is right. But I hate to see the Zach Daniels' success becoming world champ had to be at the expense of my best friend. I don't like that at all. So
fair enough, and I would agree with you on that. They had an outstanding match. I'll say that much about it. It was an awesome match. The best part of Day of Gold, vindication in my opinion, that whole match. Dastardly ways, Zach won the match at the end, obviously, but
yeah,
he's the heel in this whole story. So
yeah, it's
that's what you want to see.
It's fun to watch your friend win like that. When I was watching Drew through reunion, just being just a bad guy, just being an asshole, and he was winning underhanded. It sucks whenever you see your friend get beat the same way that he's beat so many people, or the same way you've beat so many people. It's a tough pill to swallow, man, and I know it's hard for Drew to swallow. And even for Kevin to watch, or not really watch. Kevin didn't see it, but I'm sure after when Kevin watched the footage, he felt like an idiot because I know I felt like an idiot watching it because it's like Drew got beat because he got hit with a foreign object to the head. Yeah. It's not fair, and I guess life's not fair, man. And sometimes the only way to get ahead is to be dastardly and cheat, and that's just the way the world works. But I think what's going to define Drew is what he does after this. If he retires. It's going to make a lot of people sad, and it's going to make a lot of people upset if they see him retire, because the best way for Drew to respond is to dust himself off and come back. Because I know he said that if he lost the title, he was going to retire, but I don't think it's his time to retire. He's got so much gas left in the tank, so much to give to people.
Right.
And I don't want to see him go, but if that's what he thinks he has to do, I'll support him either way because he supported me. Him and Cam both supported me. And I was at my lowest to when I was at my highest, so I'll always support Drew Hood in whatever he does.
Right. Now, I do want to touch on two other guys from VTW. Kevin Shaw, do you think he's going to be a world champion soon in VTW?
Oh, absolutely. If he's not a world champion within the end of this year, I'll be very upset. I'm already upset that he hasn't got the title. I can see why he hasn't, to some people's arguments. But Kevin Shaw is ready. If anybody is ready right now, it's Kevin Shaw. And, of course, he's got a lot of stuff upcoming. I know I've heard for sure. But I'm ready to see Kevin Shaw hold that belt because he's not getting stale, but I think there's only so much you can do being that underdog without holding that belt. Even if it's only for a month. I want to see, because the day that Kevin Shaw ever becomes a bad guy, that's when I lose all faith in BYW, because Kevin Shaw is a white meat babyface. Kevin Shaw he's a great human. He's just a decent human being, and you don't see that anymore. He's not selfish. The man's not selfish. He'll give you his arm and leg, give you his shirt off his back. I want to see a guy that's been the voice of the people. He's been for the people, by the people. He's America's sweetheart. He's Mr. PG. You don't see guys doing that anymore, and that's the lifestyle. He lives that, keeping it PG. And, man, I just hate to see him not get a world title reign. I think it's cheating the fans, and it's cheating himself, and it's cheating BYW.
Yeah, I would agree. I honestly think it's about at the right time for him to win the world title. It's something that's eluded him for so long, and just the last year that he's fought for it pretty much in BTW, just seems like sooner rather than later he should get that run. And I want to get your thoughts of Cameron Jackson now being in VTW.
You know what? I had talked to Cam after Best in New York 3, and he told me he was going to be going to VTW, and I didn't know how I felt about it at first. I was glad to see him kind of venture off from New York. But since I've been watching Cam in VTW, I'm glad that he's there because I think he fits. He's able to fit in. I wouldn't say fit in, but he's able to do a lot more there in VTW than he was able to do in UWE or BEW. I guess it's in UW now, but I think he is able to fit in more as a performer there. He's got so many more guys to work with, and he really gets to become that veteran that I don't think he got to do in UWE. I mean, he pulled the weight a lot in UWE, but I don't think that he got to reach his true potential. And I think being a part of VTW, he has been able to, he introduced us to, I think it was K9 he had that match with, and K9 is a great competitor. He's a great athlete. He's got a lot to work on. And then now he's doing this thing with Chase Bridges. They had an awesome match at Day of Gold. I guess it would be Vindication Day of Gold. And so I'm excited to see what Cam's going to do next. I'm always going to support him. Like I said, I'm always going to be a Cameron Jackson and Drew Hood fan to the day I die. They're my brothers. They're my friends. But I love to see him in BTW because it's funny to say this because it's hard to believe that you go back even a year ago. Can you imagine where BTW has come to where they are now? They have an actual ring. Cameron Jackson is part of their roster. They have guys from UCBW, some guys that people have probably never heard of, new guys that are coming in. You got Jamal Payne on there, which he's been there for about a year. You got Chase Bridges on there. You've got Aaron Jones, who's really become, I guess you'd say, a veteran. He is a true veteran. Him and Cam are true veterans, and they get to really kind of direct people and guide them in the right direction. Yeah. Cam, I know he's been helping guys with promos and how to become a character, how to really just fine-tune themselves, kind of bringing the kids to finishing school. Dustin Reagan trains them up, and then Cam and the other older guys, they bring them to finishing school. I love it, man. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's a great fit for Cam to be there in VTW. Just partially because UWE didn't use him the way they should have, in my opinion, and they haven't really uploaded a whole lot for the most part lately. It's just nice to see Cam doing something.
I think Broken Glory is supposed to go up. I don't know when. I just know that Broken Glory is going up soon. I think the thing about UWE is that it was man, when it was at 2015, even 2016, man, they were just pumping out content left and right, and they were just something different. They were that real BTW was kind of the wrestling, and then UWE was like the entertainment, and that's what drew me to UWE is their entertainment and their storytelling with a guy like Everett and Cam, and you got Rick and TJ, and even some other guys like Jason Atlas, man, hugely underrated talent, man. I don't know what he's been up to. I haven't talked to him in a while, but Jason Atlas, another great guy. Even Ustalo and Revan, who got huge in 2015 and 2016, getting to work with Cam for that world title. Revan, man, and Ustalo, they got some great guys up there, and I really hope, even though I don't know how much longer UWE is going to go into and how much longer they're going to upload, but man, they have some great talent up there, and I think that even if some of those guys can go to like a BEW or even come down to VTW every once in a while, man, they can do so much. They got so much talent up there.
Yeah, I know I've heard the three guys you mentioned, Ustalo and Jason Atlas and Revan, are supposed to be part of Proving Ground. So yeah,
I have watched them on Proving Ground. I'd like to see them. I'd like to see more Proving Ground. I haven't got to watch. I think I watched I know I watched the first episode, and then I haven't really watched. I've watched a few of the other. I think I watched their big pay-per-view parts of it. I didn't get to see all of it, but I want to see more Proving Ground because they got some good talent on there, man. Good talent on Proving Ground.
That they do, and they showcase them very well, in my opinion, on there. But yeah. So I want to know, do you have any regrets from your career of what you may or may not have gotten the chance to do?
There's a lot of guys I wish I could have worked with. I wish I could have worked with Aaron Jones. I think myself and Aaron could have done a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I did that I wish I hadn't have done. But even though I kind of regret it, at the same time I don't, because I wouldn't have possibly reached as high as I could have gone, as high as I did in BYW. But a lot of guys I didn't get to work with. Jamal Payne was one of those guys that I really, really wanted to do something with. We got to do a little bit at the 6-man at Thanksgiving Thunder. I got to do a couple I got to be in the backdrop of a few promos with him and Cam, but I never really got to sink my teeth in. I never got to work any kind of program with Jamal Payne. I really wanted to do that before I left. Unfortunately, the cards, they didn't stack up like we wanted to. But if there was one guy that I was going to ever come out of retirement to face, it would be Jamal Payne, because that guy is such an athlete, like I've said before, and he's not the same Jamal Payne we saw in DRW, and he's not the same Jamal Payne I met when I first met him at the Halloween Hangover tapings. He's not that guy. He is something more. He's something different. And what he's got going on now, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. Hearing him on Vindication, it pisses me off because all I hear is a bunch of excuses. And he's like any other bad guy. He's got an excuse after excuse after excuse. And the one thing that holds him back is he has too many excuses. He does not take ownership for what he does. And if I can tell you that, I didn't take ownership for a lot of stuff that I did. And look where it got me. I got retired. I got my ass beat at best in the R3. I got beat down in front of my family, my friends. My wife couldn't even watch it because she saw me getting my ass beat so bad because of stuff that I did. And Jamal Payne is going down that same path where he's just being a jerk. And even if it's so little as belittling the fans, hello, the fans keep the lights on. If you didn't have the fans, Jamal Payne, then you wouldn't be half the man you are today. He wants to make excuse after excuse after excuse. And one day, whether it be Kevin Shaw like he did, whether it be Drew Hood again, whether it be a Tyler Aiken or a Chase Bridges to put him in his place, that's what's going to happen. Jamal Payne's going to wind up pissing away everything he's had to work for because he makes too many excuses. But getting off my rant here, that's one guy I really regret that I didn't get to work with. Him and Aaron Jones for sure. I didn't get to work with Chase Bridges. A lot of those guys. One guy I really do regret not working with is Zach Daniels, because man, we could have had pretty much could have had one of the best stories going if we would have followed up after Best in the Yard 2 with the whole me grabbing his girlfriend. And man, hats off to him for trusting me. Him and Kirsten for trusting me not to hurt her. Because I know when you get into the moment, sometimes you may do stuff and may pull people a little bit harder than you think you actually do. And hats off to him, both of them, for trusting me not to actually hurt her. And man, in the cards, we just didn't lay out for a Zach Daniels and Big Time Mike feud, but we had all the cards were there for us to do something huge, man. It had been a lot of fun.
So you've seen some of the previous episodes of Tiger Talks Wrestling, I take it. Have you noticed that you have been mentioned a few times in not only Elimination Chamber scenarios, which I'll get into, but some dream matches?
Yeah, I have noticed. I watched the part of the Jamal Payne one, and I saw that he wanted to work with me, and that he said he looked up to me, and it's humbling, man. Even though I just said what I said about Jamal, he's full of excuses. At his core, Jamal Payne's a good person. And he's a fellow guy I was in the trenches with, working with, trying to come up with ideas, trying to build a BTW website. We tossed ideas off each other, man. We were all these guys, my peers that I hear, and even people that I wasn't really like. I was close to everybody, but there were some people I didn't see, but just on crossovers. And I hear some of these people say, "Wish I could have worked with him." That touches me, man, because Big Time Mike was not supposed to be a big deal. Whenever he was brought into KBW, he was not supposed to be a big deal. He was supposed to be a second, man. He was supposed to be a joke, and that's what he was at first. But it wasn't me that did the work. It was everybody, all my fellow workers, my brothers, and all these people, everybody, like guys like you, Tony, that really helped me become who I'm supposed to be, who I was supposed to be for y'all. And I really appreciate that. I can't say it more than I've ever said it. Y'all made Big Time Mike who and what he was, and I appreciate that so much. And it's I can never thank you enough, everybody, for what they've done for me. All the love, support, the times that you hated my guts or you loved me, y'all watched me and you were invested in what I did, whether you liked it or you didn't. Y'all took the time out of your day to watch me, a kid from South Alabama, do something that he just loved to do. And man, I love it.
All right. We got a few more topics I want to touch on here. Not too many left. We've been on for a little while here. First one, who would you say do you think is the future of BTW and then also backyard wrestling in general that you've seen?
My go-to answer is obviously Kevin Shaw, but I don't think that Kevin Shaw, like I've said, is the future. Kevin Shaw is now.
Present, right.
And again, my other gut reaction is to say a guy like Chase Bridges. I can't say that Chase Bridges is the future because Chase Bridges is here, man. Chase Bridges is it. Yeah. But if there's one guy I think that has it and has what it takes to be something, a guy that's not known very well, it's I always get it as Casey Chambers, I think, or it's Casey James. Really think of his last name, but it's Casey something.
Chambers.
Casey Chambers. I always get him because there's a Casey James somewhere.
Yep.
It's a Dave Raw's new gimmick. It's Casey. Yep. So it's Casey Chambers. But man, there's a lot of stuff that guy does that brings me back to stuff that I did, stuff that pissed me off as a fan watching. But there's a lot of stuff that guy does that really just brings me back into, I'm a fan. I'm not a wrestler. I wasn't a wrestler. I'm just a fan, and he's pissing me off as a fan, the stuff that he does. I mean, he's got a lot of stuff to work on. Don't get me wrong. Everyone does. I wasn't perfect. He's a way better worker than I ever was. I can tell you that right now. But just the way he moves, the way he does his character work, the way he does his promos, that guy's going to be it. That guy is going to be he's going to be a big star one day, whether it's professional or not. That guy's going to pull something somewhere. He's going to pull the wagon one day in BTW. And guys like Kevin Shaw and Chase Bridges, they're now, man. They're the now at this point in time. Just takes one big match for Chase Bridges to carry that load, and he's a YouTube champ. And I think he's going to do a lot of good stuff in the future. And then Kevin Shaw just takes one good match, one good segment, man. Kevin Shaw is going to carry that company. But I think a guy like Casey Chambers can learn from Kevin Shaw or Chase Bridges because they've gone there. They've been to those big stages. Casey has not. But one day he will, and he can do that by learning from the best. Like, even though I give Jamal Payne all hell on this podcast, I cannot deny the man has got talent. The man is a freak. And I cannot stress enough that he's the most explosive athlete I've ever been in the ring with. I consider myself to be pretty explosive. And when I mean explosive, I mean his ability to move his hips, pop his hips, to throw you. I've never felt so scared than when he rolled me up and hit me with an alligator roll. He pulled me like I was a small child, and it was freaky. And the way I see him move in the ring, even from when he's progressed to when he was the DRW guy, he was the freaking DRW. He's going to be something big, and Casey Chambers can learn from somebody like a Jamal Payne or Chase Bridges or Kevin Shaw. But man, that Casey guy, he's going to be big one day. He's going to be a big dog one day.
All right. So I'm going to move in. Let's move into my elimination chamber scenario I did. Mentioned it before. I'll mention it again. I kind of partially took this from the FTC roundtable. I asked Kim and Drew about it before I did it. They do the Money in the Bank ladder match. I do an elimination chamber match instead. I want you to tell me who you would pick as 5 guys from Backyard Wrestling that you would face inside the elimination chamber. And then tell me who you would eliminate last to win the match.
Well, if I can think off the top of my head, I'm going to go with Navon McDonald, obviously. Mm-hmm. I don't want Novin. I want Navon McDonald because I'm scared of Novin. I don't want to get in the ring with Novin. That man's serious business right there. I got Navon McDonald. Right. I've got Aaron Jones. I need Aaron Jones in there. I think me and Aaron Jones do a lot, especially in an elimination chamber. I'm going to need Kevin Shaw in there somewhere because me and Kevin work well together. I'm going to definitely need Yankee in there because, man, if there's one guy I think that could really push me physically, it's Yankee. Yankee could push me physically. And then I'd have to put Jamal Payne in there. Those 5 guys. And the person I would eliminate last, it would be Jamal Payne because I get to watch him tap out in front of everybody, and then he gets to lose on a big stage again, and then he gets to make another excuse. Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a good thing for Jamal Payne that I'm retired because he's getting me fired up here. And I think that it'd be a long night for Jamal Payne. He'd be eliminated last, and he'd get the BTA, and he'd be tapping.
Okay. So let's say that puts you win that match, you get to main event Best in the Yard. Who would you face in that main event if you had the opportunity to, and for what title?
Ooh.
If it'd be for title.
Ooh, boy. Main event of Best in the Yard, it's a lot of guys I'd like to stick in there. A lot of guys. Now, do you mean current champions or just stick anybody in there and make them a champion?
Just anybody. Anybody that you want.
Man. Yeah. I'd like to face Kevin Shaw, and I'd like to face him for the BTW World Heavyweight Championship at Best in the Yard. I'd love to do it because
nice.
Kevin Shaw, like I said, he's main event material. He deserves a main event at Best in the Yard. He deserves the BTW World Heavyweight Championship. But unfortunately for him on that day, he would not be that good to beat Big Time Mike because I've said it. I used to be the greatest sports entertainer to ever enter an arena. But you give me the rewind button, you go back, you change a few things here or there, you make Kevin Shaw versus Big Time Mike a main event of any Best in the Yard for the BTW World Heavyweight Championship or even a BTW Mania. Yeah, Kevin Shaw doesn't stand a chance.
Right. I want only have about 2 viewers watching, but if anybody's got any questions that we haven't covered, go ahead and put them in the chat section there for me. We'll ask. I do want to touch on 2 other things here otherwise. First one, there was rumors at one point that KBW might come back with some shows. Do you think that is something that we'll ever actually see happen?
At this point in time, I don't think so, because Cage is doing his own thing. He just welcomed him and his I guess his wife now. They welcomed a baby girl into the world, so he's got a lot of responsibilities. I've got a lot of things on my plate, and AK he's trying to get through life like the rest of us, man. And it's really, you think about KBW, that's the only 3 people you got. You got the only ones that are acting now. You got Cage, AK-47, and Big Time Mike.
Right.
I will say that we may or may not have filmed some stuff in this past January. It may or may not get finished. I don't know. I'm not sure if we filmed it or not, but maybe you could see something. I don't know. I'm not going to say you have to buy insert amount of T-shirts here to view it, but
right.
There is a possibility that maybe we could finish something that we started, something that was, I think could, I guess we gave kind of a close to KBW, but something just to give the fans a little bit of, here you go. You haven't seen us in a while. Here's something to let you chew on for a little bit while we take another hiatus, or if we don't ever come back, just some stuff that you never got to see from. I mean, we got to bring. We may have got to bring a few people back that were there from the beginning. We may have had a bigger roster than we did before. I don't know if it's true, and I don't know if we actually filmed it or not, but there's a chance something may go up in the next 6 months to a year. I don't know if it ever will. Don't put any weight into what I said, because a KBW taping, even though I love those guys, it's like hell to get it uploaded. So, I mean, if you got a KBW recording, taping schedule, putting posts and stuff up, it'll be next 2 years before it gets up. But if you did see something go up, it would be something that we did film or may not have filmed. I don't know. But I don't think there's a big chance it'll come back, but there is a slight chance. You just got to watch and stay tuned. Just be watching. KBW is one of those things you can bring it back anywhere. People are going to watch it just because they're diehards, and they're going to watch it. Doesn't matter what it is. If we got D-Man versus Mick the Brick, someone's going to watch it because they love KBW. They won't die. KBW fans won't die. They're like a cockroach, man. They'll watch anything. They love KBW, man. That's not a knock to them. That's just how loyal they are, man. They're so loyal. And that's what always has amazed me about those KBW fans is either they love you or they hate you. And if they hate you, boy, they'll let you know. They will let you know how they feel about you. So,
all right. Yeah, I know. I'll say this much. At least we're occasionally getting to see Cage and AK-47 on some of these crossover events. I personally would love to see that continue. I understand Cage has a very busy life, and I'm sure AK is not in pro wrestling like Cage is, but I know he's got a busy life as well. But still, it's something nice to see them guys occasionally in the crossover events.
Yeah.
So our one viewer is Mr. CJE, Cameron Jackson, apparently, because he's got a couple questions here for you, Mike.
Oh, good.
So the first question he says is, you ever heard the story of the niggas with the big dicks?
Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, he's killing me. Yeah, I have heard it. Oh, man. Oh, God. Yeah, I have. He's gonna cause me to lose my damn mind on this podcast. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've heard the story. If you get him on, he tells it better than I do, but it's cold and it's deep, too. Oh, Lord.
Fair enough. All right. He also says, is it true that you couldn't be white even if they sandblasted your ass?
Oh, my God. Oh, yeah, they just started letting dogs in there, too, didn't they? You'll get that one. Damn.
You had 2 more questions. Says, is it true Drew Hood clogged the toilet?
Now, hold up. Yeah, I don't know if this is true, but there may not have been a time whenever the FTC and Kevin Shaw may or may not have rendezvoused back here at Casa de Big Time. And I can tell you there's 2 other times in my life that I've seen my Big Time Princess very upset. And one of those times was that weekend. So everyone's laid down to go to bed. And I'm going to bed, and she pulls me aside, and she says, I got to show you something. I said, okay. Everyone's down there asleep. So I go in here, and someone had used the facilities and didn't flush, and they didn't pee. So I'll just go over that. And so I'm laughing. She's like, did you do that? And I said, no, I didn't do that. So I said, well, we got to find out who it was. So we go downstairs, and Cameron Jackson and Kevin Shaw are sleeping. Drew Hood is upstairs. He got the lone bed. Cam and Kev always, if you know anything about our crossovers, they always sleep together. They're like a damn married couple. But they're sleeping together in the bed, and I bring them down. I said, well, we got a mystery to solve, guys. They're like, what? And she said, who shit in the toilet and left it clogged? And so immediately everyone just busts out laughing. And Cam's like, I didn't do it. And Kevin said, I didn't do it. And she looks right at me. I said, I already told you I didn't do it. So we go to Drew. And Drew gets upset about this. He gets legit hot about this and says, I did not shit in the toilet and clog it up. So this is a whole mystery. The whole weekend is who shit in the toilet and clogged it up. I still don't know who did it. But I'm telling you, it's Drew Hood. He's not going to admit it here. But I guarantee you, if you've gotten to the deepest, darkest part of his mind, he shit in that toilet and clogged it up. And I had to hear about it for the rest of the night. Just kidding, Drew. I love you.
Okay, I got one last question from Cam. He says, lastly, Mike, will I see you at the after party at the Marriott?
You already know it, brother. I'll be there.
Sorry, that's a terrible Cameron Jackson impersonation from me, but
I'll be there. The real question is, will I see him at catering? You'll get that one.
It's that one. But we also got a question from Aaron Jones, the late party.
Oh, no.
Did you almost die at a damn Dollar General Klan meeting?
Oh, my God. Oh, this was at the, so it was the first Halloween hangover taping we had. It was 2 years ago, right after the first Best in the Yard. And Aaron Jones had to get a ride home from the taping. So Cam gets in the truck with me, and we're taking Aaron home. So I said, Aaron, what's your address, man? He's like, oh, no, I got it. He said, I'll direct you. So we're driving, and, we drive past the Dollar General. He says, that's the damn Dollar General. And I said, why you call it the damn Dollar General? It was right there by the dam. It's the damn Dollar General. So that had us laughing for a good damn near 30 minutes. So we've been driving for about an hour now. And Aaron said he didn't live but about 20 minutes away. So I'm thinking, Aaron, do you know where the hell you're going? He said, yeah, just turn in here. And then we turn in here. We turn into what looks like a Klan meeting. So I've got a guy from South Alabama, a black guy, and then Aaron Jones in the same car. We've got no AC, all the windows rolled down, and we're pretty much boxed in. So Aaron said, well, shit, I didn't know we would come to this. So we back out, and we finally make it home. But that's why the moral to the story is here, ladies and gentlemen. Don't let Aaron Jones tell you he knows where he's going, because he doesn't know where he's going at night. I think he's colorblind, so he can't see good at night. So do not let this, because he'll lead you to a Klan rally. And at that time, we didn't know the area very well, so we were trying to get back with 2% on the phone, trying to make it back to Claremont so we can sleep in the dirty ass building. But man, that was something else. Seeing Aaron Jones, the GPS aficionado. What you call him, Mr. Aaron Jones. That's what you call Aaron Jones.
All right. Gotcha. So if we have any other questions, I'll give it a minute and see if anybody else has anything to ask. So that we got no viewers there, but not always true. Let's see. Martini's being awful quiet there. You got anything you want to ask?
I'm sorry, I just been starstruck by this whole interview. I mean, I may or may not have spent the last half hour crying because of the whole BITY story with Big Time Mike here and retiring.
Yeah, that's a tearjerker, that's for sure.
It really is. Like, I actually do get teary-eyed every time he brings it up because it's such an emotional thing for me. And it is such an emotional thing for a wrestler like my cousin Hellhound. I love that guy to death. He is such a kind gentleman. I love him. He's so great. But it really is. And for Big Time, honestly, he is truly an inspiration, and he is one of the founding fathers of the big faces of modern day BYW and where it is and how big it is. And
I appreciate that. I appreciate that, man. That's humbling, man. I appreciate that. We didn't start any of this expecting that, but man, it was that's humbling to hear that, man. I really appreciate that.
I personally have to.
Oh, no problem, dude.
Personally, I have to say I have to thank you too, Mike. You were the first person that started following me on Twitter after I started watching this backyard wrestling community, and just to see, I was a late bloomer as compared to how long you guys had been doing it in KBW and everywhere else, but just to see everything that I've seen, gone back and watched every single episode of everything that you've done, Big Time Talk Show and everything else. I have been very blessed, I'll say that, to get to see all of the stuff that you put out there, and I thank you very much for that. We do have a few other people that have a few things to say in the chat room as well, but like I said, it meant the world to me that you were the first person that followed me on Twitter, and it just, seeing you retire at the end of, or towards the end of Best in the Yard was definitely caught me in the heart, as I know it did a lot of people. So just gotta
thank
say,
you, man. It means a lot to me. Thank you.
Okay. So Cam says, Mike, I love you, brother. I miss you, and I hope to see you soon.
I'll see you soon too, Cameron. Don't shit in my toilet.
I'll get to that. I'll respond to you there in a minute, Cam. Jamal says, I'm so late. I need my one-on-one as well. He wants that one-on-one match with you.
Yeah, stop making excuses and you might get it. You might get it. You stop making excuses.
Devon McDonald pops in and says, hey, Mike, it's King of the Mountain, Devon McDonald. It was 5 years ago. Actually, it was like 4 months ago. You pinned me after my outdoor brawl with D-Lock. Give me that one-on-one.
Oh, man, that's so much fun. Yeah. That's something y'all don't know about either. Y'all don't know about the annual Best in the Yard dark match, do you?
No. Don't know nothing about that.
You never heard of it? Oh, okay. So every year at Best in the Yard, there's always an annual dark match that does not get recorded. So at Best in the Yard 1, and it always somehow involves, it used to involve just me and Cameron. It always, Best in the Yard 1, it was me and Cam. We faced off and we beat each other to death with kendo sticks in front of everybody. And then Best in the Yard 2, we tagged against Aaron Jones, and we tagged one time. We did a tag with Aaron Jones and Jason Atlas, and then there was me and Cam had a match, and then there was also myself and Everett Creed versus Aaron Jones and Jason Atlas. They got recorded but got lost to time somewhere. And then this year we never got to do a dark match because we had to set the ring up, and everybody was trying to. We were so busy doing everything, we never got to do an actual dark match. So this also goes into another great, because every story with Devon McDonald is always great. He's a great guy. He's a great dude. He's just a polarizing figure. So we're sitting there, we're rewatching the show in the VTW building, and we're all of us are jammed in the building. We're not at the church. We're at the actual VTW at the headquarters of VTW. We're watching the show, and Devon gets up and leaves to take a phone call or something, and Cam inches over to me and says, Mike, he said, when you go to Devon, just go up there and stick your finger in his face. So I don't know if y'all know this, but Devon McDonald does not he can't stand when you stick your finger in his face. That is like that's the zenith of disrespect. For Devon McDonald is all about respect. And that is the highest level. That's like spitting in his face, is sticking your finger in his face. So Devon comes back in. And so I'm just like, well, I'm just expecting, him to laugh or whatever. So he sits back down, and I go to walk over. He said, oh, Mike, Devon is a very respectful man outside of the ring. Devon says, oh, Mike, did I take your chair? And I said, no, Devon. And I stick my finger in his face, and he smacks my hand down and says, don't you ever stick your finger in my face. He gets upset. So I said, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. So I sit back down. So D-Lock, D-Lock's a little weasel. He likes to pester folks. I love it. I love watching him pester people. So he goes over. He's sticking his finger in Devon's face. Devon just gets mad and madder. He'll go and talk to somebody else. D-Lock will come over and stick his finger in his face. He gets madder and madder. And so next thing you know, they're outside. We were eating pizza or something. We were all watching we're back to watch the show again. And next thing I know, all we hear is just smack. We hear somebody get smacked and someone gets slammed against the side of the building. So we think there's an actual fight going on. So we all run outside, and we see Devon McDonald and D-Lock. And Devon's doing his, he's working. So he's trying to beat the hell out of D-Lock, and D-Lock's beating the hell out of him. And so they're fighting. So we're like, all right, well, here we go. I guess they're playing or whatever. And then Devon sets a table up. He sets a piece of plywood from the day before that didn't get used on 2 sawhorses. And he goes to put D-Lock, or D-Lock goes to put Devon to the table. And Drew says, no, Devon, I'll save you. And he dives to the table. Well, next thing I know, Cam jumps in and starts beating on Devon. And then Devon starts beating on Cam. So I jump in and start beating on Devon. And then next thing I know, Dustin Reagan jumps in and starts beating on me. Then Chase Bridges jumps in and starts beating on me. And so it becomes this huge brawl. Aaron Jones comes and pile drives Devon. Devon's pile driving people. Dustin Reagan gives me a cutter. I got Chase Bridges raking my eyes. I put Dustin in the BTA. And then I go over and somehow score a pin on Devon. It's just a huge brawl between everybody. And that was our annual dark match. We just beat the hell out of each other the whole time. It was so much fun, man. It was a stressful weekend with that show. And that annual dark match is always something that just reminds us we're just here to hang out and have fun. And so now I don't know what the dark match will be next year, but I think that one tops it all, is seeing everybody just having fun, just going out and just beating the hell out of each other just for fun, man. So much fun.
Heard that story from a few different people, but it's still great to hear from everybody's perspective. You added a little bit more to it. So
yeah.
Jamal Payne says, "You know where to find me, Mike."
Oh no, I don't want none of it. I don't want none of it, Jamal. You can have it. You can have it, buddy. I don't want it. I'm not that guy anymore.
Okay, and Cameron, whenever you want, that's when you can be on the show. I'd love to have you on here. Just DM me on Twitter, and we can figure out a day and a time that we can do it. But he also says, kind of directed at your cousin there, Martini. Says, in Hellhound, you shave them chinchillas you call legs yet?
Oh God. I don't necessarily keep up with my cousin nor his legs. I mean, I know in some neighborhoods, some neighborhoods around me especially, there's people that are into that, with the whole incest thing, and they got some pretty weird kinks from what I've been told. But no, I am not one of those guys, and I do not look at my cousin's legs, so therefore I will not be able to answer that for you.
God.
So we're going to take a few more minutes here. Everybody that's in the chat, just go ahead and give out your last questions, remarks, whatever you want to. Mike, I do want to ask one last thing from you. Any last things that you'd have to say to anybody that's up and coming in backyard wrestling? Your remarks, anything?
I watched the very end of the Aaron Jones interview you did, and he had a good point about make this not make it your life, but make it important if you want this to be something that you want to be good at, because it took guys like me and Aaron Jones and Cameron Jackson and Drew Hood and even Kevin Shaw and Zach Daniels and Tyler Aiken and Ecstatic and even like Everett Creed, who is not in the community anymore because he's got a real career, man. He's doing big things, man. He's becoming he's trying to make something good for himself in reality, like in his life as Everett Patterson. He's trying to make a career. He's trying to grow up. He's trying to get money. He's trying to get his own house. He's trying to get his life really started. And it took a lot of we put a lot of time. I can't, and I know I don't want to give you the same old story that probably everyone that's been on here who's put a lot of work in. I missed a lot of things for backyard wrestling. I missed a lot of dates with my fiance, who's soon to be my wife. I've missed a lot of time with her. I've skipped college classes to go to crossover events. I don't regret any of that because I had a good time. I've gotten a credit card debt because I love backyard wrestling so much, because it's such a big part of my life. It defined me for the longest time. That was what defined me, was Big Time Mike and the people that I'm in these messaging chats with, and the guys I talk to daily, and we just get to just cut up on these hangouts every night. It defined me for such a long time that when I didn't have it anymore, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to. I didn't want to have a real job. I just want to be Big Time Mike. That's what I want to do. And but I will say, that getting to that long point, if you want to be good at this, you have to put work in, and that does not mean coming to filmings on time. That doesn't mean just doing the minimum. If you want to get good at this, you have to put hours and hours and hours into it. If that means going to the gym just to make yourself look better, because this is a cosmetic business, no matter what anybody will say to you, this is a cosmetic business to make yourself look like a superstar. If that means going on your YouTube channel and cutting promos, or even just having polls out there, or even just talking to fans and seeing what they think, or interacting with fans, you have to put the time in. And that does not mean just coming to tapings and doing the bare minimum. That means you have to do stuff for the Fed that you're in. You have to be willing to work for the Fed. You have to be willing to do stuff for the community. And that doesn't mean you're always going to be the best. It doesn't mean you're always going to be the champ. For a young guy, the only way to succeed is to make yourself, sell yourself, but also sell your company. Make yourself an integral part of this company. In other words, if I was to take wrestler A and he was really good at what he did and he did everything he needed to do to be a superstar, if I put him on the show, 1 week he makes the show. If I take him off the show, you can see that he is not on the show because he is a huge part of that company. And the only way to do that is to do stuff like this, like Tony's doing, is to get on social media and sell yourself, is to go out and build your character, get better, find something you're good at. You do not have to go hold for hold with somebody, but you have to be good at something. You don't have to be good at, you don't have to be a promo master, but you have to be good at something. You have to stand out because there are so many good wrestlers. Everyone wants to be a good wrestler. And that's awesome because they're a whole lot better than I was at wrestling. But it took me a catchphrase, an elbow, a suplex, and an ankle lock to get where I was. Now, granted, this is a whole different time than when I came up. Even though it's just a short few years, stuff has changed. But you have to be good at something. You have to sell yourself. You become a gimmick. You become a persona. That's how you get big. You don't get big by being a great wrestler. You get big by becoming a persona, becoming a character, getting yourself out there. The more you do, the better. The less you do, you're going to get in what you put. You're going to get out what you put into this. So if you put in going to every other taping, you're going to get in what you put out. But if you put in more and more, the more you give, the more you're going to get. Drew Hood, ultimate example. Drew Hood has given up so much. He drives 2.5 hours. He'll get off of work. And that last promo package when he did with Kevin talking about how much work he puts in, that's not a work. That's real. That's probably being generous. That's probably taking a few hours off of what he actually does. That man does a lot. He probably gets about 2 hours of sleep a night. Same with Cameron Jackson. Cameron Jackson used to drive probably about the same distance as me. And I didn't go but every other crossover. That man was going every other month, maybe twice a month, maybe 3 times a month. That man was driving from Gremlin City, New Jersey to the UWE on Long Island, all the way to Newburgh and BEW, and then going to Claremont. And then sometimes he would go to Drew Hood's house, which is 2.5 hours away from Claremont. And he would be doing stuff all the time. His mind's always going. Aaron Jones does a lot of stuff for that company as far as the BTW, as far as the structural and building things and doing stuff behind the scenes. Dustin Reagan does a good job training these guys. Zach Daniels, Jesus Christ. Zach Daniels is going to own that company before it's all said and done. Zach Daniels does the video editing, does the commentary. Zach Daniels goes behind the scenes and helps book stuff with Drew Hood and Aaron Jones. And I hate to be pulling the curtain back, but what I'm trying to get to is if you want to be good at this, you cannot just rely on weekly episodic your weekly episodic programming. You have to do more than that, doing more. And that means trying to stand out and helping your fellow wrestler, helping your fellow worker, helping each other out, helping build each other up, not cut each other down. That's the worst thing you can do. So main point, do more. If you don't think you're doing enough, do more. So you can always do more.
Fair enough. I'll read the few comments that we have in here since then real quick here. Navan says, crying of laughter. I hope to see you again, Mike. God bless you and thank you for everything.
Thank you, Navan. Love you, brother.
Cam says, towards Hellhound, Martini's cousin, legs look like 2-point pine trees. And then says, Mike, you get that Just for Men yet?
Yep, I got it. Did you find that girl's mama yet? Oh, he'll get that one. He'll get that one.
Aaron says, Mike, I am a disappointed father.
Yeah, Aaron. Aaron. Oh, also, you guys didn't know I was actually Aaron Jones' mother for a couple matches there. He pushed me over. He's a disappointment as a son, Aaron. You're a disappointment as a son.
Jamal says, the question is, will we see Mike in BTW again or anywhere in BYW, but in a different role?
that question is to be announced. Like I said, I'm not going to come back. I will not come back and be the guy that's I'm not going to be the guy that comes back for best in the yard or just to be the veteran. If I'm going to come back, it's going to be in a big, not to say that I need to be in a big role. I want to help out. I don't want to be the guy that just shows up and for a crossover and says, "Oh, where's my match? Okay, I'll see you guys later." I want to be a part. And if it's right place, right time, right guy, I'll be there. Don't you worry, because I'm not on Twitter as much as I used to be, really as much as I ever was. But I keep up for the most part with what's going on, so I know what's going on. And there's been a couple times where I've almost said, "Look, screw it, man. I got to go back. I got the jitters. I can't." I had trouble adjusting to life without BYW, but I'm getting better at it. And so maybe one day, right place, right time, right guy. That's my answer. Right place, right time, right guy. Maybe one day.
Okay. Thank you, Navon. Navon said, "Good job, Tony. I suppose my interview has been toppled, but make no mistake about it. Do I think Big Time Mike can whip my ass? Hell no. Do I think I can whip his ass? Hell to the yeah, and twice on Sunday." Martini, you probably could do that better, a whole hell of a lot better than I did there.
Whatever.
Jamal says, "Amen on that." I think that was to your whole promo, your shoot there.
Hell, it might as well be a promo.
Oh yes, make it a promo, Big Time, make it.
Hey, and King Dominator pops in, says, "I hope you come back, Mike. We miss you, brother." And Jamal Payne says,
"Oh yes, oh yes, we do miss you, Big Time. We really do miss you."
So, one last time, I'll say, if anybody's got anything else they want to say, just pop in here real quick. Anything else you want to put out there, Mike?
Support. There was a thing going around a while back. It was called Support BYW. I don't think we do it enough anymore. I know it's kind of like supporting your fellow man, supporting your fellow Fed. Support BYW, man. I always say it. I'll live it and breathe it. I should get it tattooed on me one of these days, but support BYW, man. Support what we do. I know a lot of us have gone farther than the backyard, and we're not in the trampoline anymore, but that brotherhood, that bond is still there from when we were in the trampoline. So it'll always be there. Even if you get out of this, it's kind of like you get out of the war, you never really leave. There's always a part of you that's always going to be there. So I'd say support BYW, man. Support each other. Help each other grow, man. It's not enough, like I said, to go to every taping or every other taping and just say, well, this is how we can improve. It matters what you do about it. I can sit here and say all day, well, this is how we can do this better. This is how BTW can be better. This is how BEW can be better. This is how BYW can be better. We can sit here all day and list out how we can be better. It's a matter of fact of actually going out and doing it. Go out and do it. And they say, don't just talk about it, be about it. Go be about it. Go step up. Go do something. I'm not saying that people aren't doing what they're supposed to do, but I know, and I was guilty of this, saying, well, this is how we can do better like this. Sitting out here, we're booking the territory. Me, Cam, and Drew, we're booking the territory, talking about this is how we can make this much better. But we did it, but we didn't do everything we said we were going to do.
Right.
But that's the difference, is that you can talk about it all day, talk about how much better you want this place to be, but it's not going to get better until we step. And I say we because, like I said, you never really leave. Even though you retire, you don't really retire. You're just kind of taking a break until you eventually come back and finally get the bug again. But it won't get better until we make it better. And that starts off with guys like BTW. That starts off with whatever UWE's got coming up. And even I think it's BEW or eventually NUW and other guys that are out there. There's a lot of other companies that don't get a lot of publicity that are very good. I've seen them. I know there was, I can't even remember their name, but there was a couple other companies up there even before. Jesus Christ, can't think of their name, but they were very well done. Even some companies that aren't here anymore, there are guys that are still floating around like an AK-47 that can teach people so much. And all you gotta do is ask them, man. They say ask and you shall receive. All you gotta do is ask a question, and they're gonna help you. You're not gonna get better unless you do something bad first, and someone helps you out. So it's all about just help each other out, man. Help each other grow, because that's the only way we're gonna get better is if we help each other grow.
Right. And Cam, I see what you say there in the chat. We are gonna end it that way. That's how I plan on doing it. Jamal, I see, has said Mike has one of the best minds for this business, and I am proud to say that he has taught me a lot. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Jamal. Thank you, sir. Love you, brother. Even though I give you hell on here, I love you, sir.
Martini, you got any last words you want to put out there?
Thank you big time. That's all you really got to say.
Oh, thank y'all. I don't deserve the thanks. All y'all deserve the thanks because y'all made it happen. Y'all made it happen, man. Without y'all, it couldn't have been anything. It couldn't have been anything. I just been the other guy hollering and screaming and doing catchphrases, but with y'all, I became something else. I wouldn't say a symbol, but I became something larger than life, and that's what I always wanted. And thank you so much for that, everybody. Tony, Harry Likes Wrestling. You got Busted Boy, another great supporter. All the BTW guys. I can sit here for 6 or 7 hours and name all people I want to thank, but thanks to everybody. Everybody has helped in their own way, whether they know it or not. They've helped, and I can never ever thank someone personally or through a match. Thank you guys so much because you've helped me more than I know I've helped y'all. I've done a lot of things, and y'all have stood there beside me at my low, at my high. Whether something's been so bad you can't hardly stand it, or something's been so good you want to cry about it. Thank you so much to everybody. Y'all have made Big Time Mike something special, something that it could have never been on its own. I thank you so much for it. So much. Thank you so much.
Hey, well, I've got to say a few things here. I'll get back to you in a second. I do want to let everybody know that I plan on doing these live episodes from here on out. I'm not going to this is the start of something new for me for Tiger Talks Wrestling. The recording ones are fine, but I just want to get away from that. I plan on starting up a new segment, so as to speak, of something. Feuds is what I'm kind of thinking of doing, rivals, feuds, whatever you want to call it, at some point. I'll get more into details of that when I know exactly what I'm going to do for that. I will be looking for possibly a different co-host since it'll be a different show. No offense to Martini.
What? You're replacing me?
Only for one show. I do want to thank everybody that. Do want to thank everybody who has joined in tonight with the questions, comments, and have watched. Period. I do appreciate it. I appreciate everybody that will watch, hopefully in the future, this episode and many others. Again, Cameron, hit me up on Twitter. We'll figure out a day and time in the near future, as I have with a few other people that will be guests here on the show sooner rather than later. And Mike, I do have to say very much thank you for being on the show. Like I said, you were the biggest name I had in mind to get on this show, so I very much so do appreciate it. And I think everybody else that has watched or will watch very much appreciates you being on here and hopefully enjoyed the show. No, it's a lengthy one, but
yeah, I hope you guys are all going to stick around and watch it. I tried to pour my heart out here and let people know. A lot of people saw me on the Big Time Talk Show, and I did a lot of talking, but I didn't really do a lot of talking. So I wanted this to be good. Just put it all out there for everybody, man. Thank you once again, Tony, so much, man. I love you doing this stuff, man. It's so awesome. I love seeing people do stuff like this, man. This is what we need. I mean, hell, if we could have a talk show every night of the week, and y'all could all work together, and we could all have just content constantly, man. Just different types of content. That's so awesome, man. I love it. I love it so much. Keep doing what you're doing, guys. Support Tony. Support Tiger Talks Wrestling and all the other stuff he's got upcoming. Support everybody, man. You can always find something bad if you're looking for something bad, but there's always something good, something new to learn for everybody. You can't stop learning no matter what it is. You always got to keep learning, man. Always got to keep getting better, and I love it, man. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I appreciate that very much. So with that being said, I'm not sure when exactly the next show will be. Just follow me on Twitter at Tiger121685. You'll find everything there. Obviously, you can follow Big Time Mike on Twitter. Might not be on there all that often. You want to give out the Twitter handle there?
Yeah, it's at KBW_Big Time. I haven't changed the Twitter handle yet. I don't think I ever will. I'm not on there a lot, but if you message me, I will eventually get back to you. Don't get me. You can ask Tony. He messaged me, and it took me a while to get back to him. But believe me, if you want to get in touch with me about anything, ask me any question, I will get back to you. You can message me, whatever. I will get back to you. It may take me a little bit, but I will get back to you. If you want me to watch something, give you a feedback. Like I said, it may take me a little while because I got a lot going on. I know that's an excuse, but I'll get back to you. Believe me, and I'll give you honest feedback. I didn't write the book on it, but I got a lot of experience and a lot of stuff to share. If anybody wants anything, I'm always an open book. You can throw something against the wall You can talk my ear off, whatever you need to do. I'm always here. I want to give back to the place that gave me so much. And however I can do that, like I said, Twitter's at KBW_big time. Message me, tweet me, whatever, rant on me, whatever you want to do. Post pictures of me. I don't care what the hell you do. Y'all what makes it. Y'all keep the lights on here, man. So I'm so appreciative of it. Thank you so much, man. It's amazing. I love it.
Hey, well then for Martini Charles Harrelson III, this is Tony.
You better stop that, Tony. I hate it. You know what? You better get a new co-host, because, ooh, after tonight, I cannot do this. You keep calling me this. I do not like it.
Oh, you'll be back.
It's 10:15 at night. You're going to wake up my cat, Precious. Don't even get me started.
Wait,
ooh.
You got a cat named Precious?
Yeah, I got a cat named Precious. Who doesn't have a cat named Precious?
Is she 300 pounds?
Nah. It's 450.
Okay, all right. Well, let me know when you shave them legs, okay? We'll let you to the party.
I don't got to shave. That's my cousin that has to shave.
Oh, well, both of y'all got to shave. Cam said your damn legs are like two fucking hairy chickens. Use my language.
Not good. But anyways, this has been Tiger Talks Wrestling. This is Tony. I'm signing out. Mike, please do us the honor as Cam has asked. Take us on out of here.
I haven't done this in a while, so I may be a little rusty. But ladies and gentlemen, it's always good to be back. And you just remember that it doesn't matter what day it is, what time, or what's on the line, whether we're at BTW Wrestling, UWE, hell, BYW, Tiger Talks Wrestling, and Big Time Mike, even in retirement, we always deliver. And it's always, wait for it. Wait for it. Big Time, baby. 16. Boom, biatch.